What's going on? Good morning. Happy Monday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend in the NFL. Give you a little update on all the little nuggets that happened. We'll start with the Colts alienating their running back. Jonathan Taylor requested trade, and owner Jim Irsay says, how about no? The Colts are contemplating placing Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list due to a back injury he suffered away from the team. That would mean that if Taylor didn't play this season, his contract would just toll over to 2024. They would have the right to pay him nothing in 2023. Jonathan Taylor disputes those concerns, saying he never reported any back pain. The Dolphins signed Eli Apple in the wake of Jalen Ramsey's injury that knocked him out until the end of the season. Rams running back Sony Michel retired. Sony played 5 years in the NFL, starting 35 of 65 games and rushing for 3,243 yards and 18 touchdowns over that time. And in Seattle, head coach Pete Carroll told reporters that rookie running back Zach Charbonnet has a shoulder injury and is out indefinitely. Meanwhile, Kenneth Walker III also has a groin injury and could be out a while. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to a brand new week on RKW as Tennessee Titans training camp continues. Jim Irsay continues to say stupid things, and we get the whole band back together for a new week, which starts right now with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass. I'm Will Bowling. It is Monday, July the 31st. And aren't you so glad you're not a Colts fan? Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
I got behind
Facts.
one this morning. You know what I did? Sped past them.
Did it say like Indianapolis
It had
Colts
Colts
on
on
the
the
bumper
tag.
sticker?
Yeah, it did. Had one of
The
those
Indianapolis
out.
Colts.
Yeah, they've earned that one now. At first I was just like, it may be a little harsh. Like, let's ease up on. No, they've earned that one.
Yeah, they have.
earned it.
Jim Irsay, just, drinking on the weekend.
When have we ever eased up on anyone on this show?
I know.
Never.
I try to keep a professional boundaries.
Put the surprise
intact.
back in your voice.
You know what, Will? You're right. Why would we ever hold back on something like this
I really
that's
don't
that
know.
bad at times, right, Kayla? You know what?
There's no holding back.
If Will say screw him, then I say, you know what? We throw him in the river.
There we go.
That simple?
We bring him
Is that
down
simple,
here
Kayla?
and throw him in the river.
We throw him in the river. That's what we do. What happens after that is up to them. Maybe they got a boat. Maybe they know how to float, Kayla. Maybe they got floaties, okay? But they can't be with us. That's all
No.
we're saying. They can't
We'll
be
take
with
the
us.
floaties off.
How was everyone's weekend? Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Bert.
What's going on, y'all? Not as stressful as Jim Irsay. I was going to say, there is not a single person who is a more stressful cigarette smoker than Jim Irsay.
Oh.
Whenever you see him puffing one, it's like that is the last one that he is ever going to smoke in his entire life. I imagine he had a couple of drags this weekend.
He did.
2 or 3
100%.
or 4.
How was yours, Kayla?
It was good. Kind of low key because I know what this week is about to hold, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Training camp. We've got our outing on Wednesday at the Sounds game. IndyCar.
Ooh.
Like, there is a
weekend.
lot going
Music
on.
City Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a crazy week
It's
here.
going to be crazy.
But so I was just resting a little,
That's good, though, to just be able to kick back a little bit, man. Especially when you know you got that type of week coming up. Good
Yeah.
on you, because you're always doing something, Kayla, for real. It's
Well,
good
training
that you
camp
was able
was
to
Saturday.
just be chill, But after that, you was done for the day, though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, see, that's real. Mine was solid.
Yeah, y'all went on vacation.
We
a
went
little,
for
mini.
a little vacation is what they call them.
Yes.
That's what the kids call them, a little vacation. Yeah, when you and your boo thing go somewhere.
I guess I'm not one of the kids anymore. Great.
That's what
at
Never even
Will.
heard of that.
Yeah, vacation is what they call it. Yeah. So we finally got away. I had promised Keisha, like, hey, we will do something. This entire year, y'all know this. It's been the boys. It's been baseball. It's been every sport imaginable, right? And we went to Arizona, Phoenix, or Scottsdale area.
That's right.
Golly.
Yeah.
Hey, that heat is serious. And it's such a beautiful, I'll say this, I appreciate what the desert looked like. Like the Phoenix, Scottsdale area is nice. I can appreciate the cactus.
Scottsdale is awesome.
Scottsdale, and that's what Paradise Valley is, something like that. That area right there. I could appreciate the desert terrain, the mountains. Like, that's totally different than what we got here in the South. And I was just like, golly, that's beautiful. We were near like Camelback, I think is
Camelback Mountain.
where we were. It was just awesome to see like that. But the heat, the South ain't got nothing on that heat.
Yo, usually people don't go in there in the summer, though. I will tell you that much.
Well, we went because there was no kids around and stuff like that. And I knew what it was. We ended up staying at a resort that had like a pool with cabanas. We ended up renting one of those.
Yeah.
Like, so we weren't out in it, but we felt it. Like, it was so hot out there, y'all. Like, it was like 111 to like 115 in the daytime. So we turned the AC down just a little because it just kept blowing. Yep. And then I realized why the AC kept blowing. Probably because they didn't have Window Nation windows, okay?
Boom.
Just going to throw that out there. But you could feel the heat on the windows and like on the house or on the hotel room we were in. Like, you could feel like radiant heat. It was almost like you were underneath a heat lamp. Or like you could, I don't know, it was like a sauna. It was fascinating. I never experienced anything like that in my entire life. Yeah. It was, you can stand there and just start to sweat.
I lived in Tucson for 2 years, so year round, in the summer, it's just you don't go outside. Now in the winter, you feel so different because your friends are posting pictures and there's snow or they're like not going outside because it's wintertime and you're out there like in your bathing suit in December and they're going, what are you doing? Well, it's Arizona in the summer or in the winter. You got to be outside.
Well, that's what it was. We were riding up and down the street just to see the houses and like stuff like that because it was a really nice area. 0 person outside. 0 person outside. Not a bike rider. 1 or 2 runners, I think that was just over the top. But like no kids, no balls bouncing, nobody even in pools.
It's different.
It is different.
And Will went to Destin, so that's very different too.
Yeah,
but the weather was perfect, I felt like.
It was fine.
Sharks down there now, too.
I have no I have no idea.
Did you go to the ocean?
Oh, yeah, of course.
It was like that?
What do you mean?
Your weekend was like that? You have no idea what happened?
Oh, no, that's not true.
I have no recollection.
The shark thing is more of a concern for y'all than it is for me. I don't really think about that.
He hasn't seen Jaws yet.
You're not getting in the water.
But like I know a shark is not going to come up to like the beach of like the most populated area in the country at the beach.
If I was a hungry shark, that is exactly where I would go.
That's exactly where I go to, Bert.
Good thing you're just a shark of business and not a shark of water. I learned that I'm really good at a new beach game. Have y'all played Can Jam before?
Yes, sir.
No.
I am a Can Jam fiend. I got it in the slot on the first game that I played, like with the Frisbee.
And now you're addicted.
I am addicted. Yes.
Well, what is it for
ran Can Jam. So it's basically
like
2 trash cans that are like, 15 feet away from each other?
That's regulation.
Yeah, that's about right. On the beach, and you have a Frisbee, and you're 2v2, and you're throwing the Frisbee to your teammate, and if it hits the can on the fly, it's 2 points. If your teammate hits it in, like not catches it, but like bats it through the air in, then it's 3 points. And if they bat it and it just hits the outside, it's 1 point. But there's this little like almost mail slot on the front of it that is like literally like as big of like as like mail that you would put in. That's like a little bit bigger than a Frisbee.
Yeah.
That's like at the very top on the front. And if you get it through there, it's like the golden snitch. Like you win.
Did anybody do that?
You played it twice. Yeah, I got it.
No.
So I got on my first game, and then you played at 21, and it's like it's like cornhole rules. If you go over, then both teams go back to 15-15.
Okay.
So we like ran that, and then I burned the back of my arms, which was a new one.
Ooh, that is a new one.
Yeah.
How?
I didn't burn my shoulders because I didn't put in sunscreen well enough on the bottom of my arms. So like I could, you know that feeling when you can feel like the heat radiating off your skin. You're like, I'm getting sunburned right now. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're out of sunscreen. You're like, well, this is great. Yeah, that's what happened.
You needed some
and then
Crisco.
It's just uncomfortable the next few days.
It is, ain't it?
It's really not that bad. I didn't have a bed the whole weekend. I mean, it was like it was one of those like sleeps 10, but like not really.
Where'd
kind
you
of
sleep?
like Airbnbs, just on a love seat.
What a
I
classic
love
boys
I
weekend.
know.
Yeah, I was fine.
Right?
That was perfectly fine. I got great sleep on that love
On
seat.
the love seat.
I don't
I
know what
love
it
that
is
love seat.
about when men get older. This happened to me when I went on a bachelor's trip too, a bachelor boys trip.
I
That
was,
makes it sound so
I
much
was like, a bachelor's
so much
boys.
less mature. But something ends up happening where like there can be multiple rooms and dudes just all want to stay in the same room. Like
That's
a
so
giant
funny.
male sleepover.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I miss those days in high school when you would just pile in your buddy's basement.
Yeah.
And, like,
Oh, yeah.
had sleep like 8 dudes in one basement on 3 couches.
100%.
Like, how'd you make this happen? We had 2 blankets. Like somebody sleeping underneath the air mattress for warmth. Like I just miss that.
We got back to playing Super Smash Bros. Quite a
wow.
bit.
On what system?
The Nintendo Switch.
The Switch. Okay.
It has like all the old maps, all the old and new characters.
Yeah.
Realized that I'm a Pikachu guy and a Bowser guy, which means I'm one of the most hated people. But I want my buddy who was Yoshi the entire time and would just like swallow you up and poop
That's
you
what I
off
was
the
gonna
edge,
say.
which was that was like the amount of enemies that are made over
Yoshi.
someone using Yoshi in Super Smash Bros. Is unbelievable.
That and Kirby, man. You don't
I know
cross
Kirby,
the line.
Jigglypuff up there.
Yoshi is definitely one of the ones like, why would you pick him?
I know
Why would you pick Yoshi?
little noises he makes. It's
I
great.
know, man. By the way, the incorporation of the air mattresses, though, is how all this is possible, too. Like,
I'm not an air mattress guy.
I'm not, but it allows so much flexibility when the gang is all together, though, too. It's like, oh, well, we'll just lay up in the living room.
Because it used to be like, oh, just bring a sleeping bag and sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
Before modernity gave us these newfangled devices.
There's nothing like floor sleep, though.
Floor sleep is different.
Straighten that back out a little
It's
bit.
great.
You feel me? Like you appreciate the bed after that. It's only it's not an every night thing though. It's just
Yeah,
a one
once
night
in a
or
while.
nap type of situation. Floor sleep would get you to a new realm.
Give me a couch over a cheap hotel bed 10 times out of 10.
I'm with you on that one.
10 times out of 10.
See, I'm getting old though, man. I'm getting too old.
Stop.
I can't be doing stuff like that. You wake up and like parts of your body hurt. You're like, man, I didn't even know I could have like neck pain at this age, but you can.
That's the worst when you sleep on your neck the wrong way. I mean, there is not much worse than that.
It's not.
Oof.
Golly.
Coming up here on this morning show, Bryant McFadden joins us at 8:20. Tons of practice takeaways from Tennessee Titans training camp, which continues this afternoon. But coming up, we dive into the headlines around the NFL where Aaron Rodgers is angry at the coach of, well, the guy that's basically replaced his current offensive coordinator. And Jim Irsay just is a new level of idiot in Indianapolis. As we continue in hour 1 on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of the time we homeowners pretend we don't see the warning signs. We're afraid of what we're going to hear. This is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It can be something big that needs to be fixed now, or it can be a small problem that'll become bigger later, or it can be nothing at all. Bottom line is we don't know, and we certainly don't want to be sold on something we don't need. We need a peace of mind, and United Structural Systems is the company to give you that. Over 25,000 100% satisfied residential customers, and here's how they have made it happen. When it comes to when USS comes out to your house, you're getting problem solvers who provide a peace of mind to their customers, the homeowner. You're not getting someone who is worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling the next big thing, but someone there to educate you and help you understand what's happening with your home. And you at USS, their only measure of success is how satisfied the homeowner is, not a closing ratio. This attitude and culture is the reason why they keep their employees year after year. From project managers to customer service to production. Some have even been at USS for 25 plus years. And if you do have to have some foundation repair or waterproofing work done, you also have the peace of mind of knowing that USS provides an honest diagnosis and stands by their working warranties. This is huge, and USS is based right here in Middle Tennessee. They are members of our community, and USS has been in business for 25 plus years, and they aren't going anywhere. Homeowners trust USS. USS, keeping homes dry and stable. Contact, if you need them, is 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Monday morning on Remote Kayla and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. We've got the full crew back together. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh, I'm Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion with your Titans questions, concerns, comments, anything in between. Stephen Holder last night with the latest report in the Indianapolis Colts versus Jim Irsay saga, which is just fantastic news for everyone else who plays American tackle football in the AFC South, that Jonathan Taylor reported to training camp complaining of back pain that was deemed to be from a pre-existing issue. The team is now considering placing him on the non-football injury list, which could result in his not being paid for the regular season. Then Jonathan Taylor last night tweets that this is fake news, essentially. And all of this comes after Saturday afternoon when Jim Irsay essentially told reporters after Jonathan Taylor reportedly requested a trade that we're not going to trade him, and that if Jonathan and I both died, nobody would remember us, which is just a wild comment to give.
Speak for yourself.
All that to say, Jim Irsay stepped in it, and Jonathan Taylor's probably played his last snap as a Colt. Thoughts?
Go ahead, Kayla. Go ahead, take him on this one. Take him.
Look, Jim Irsay has dug a hole, for a few years now and continues to dig holes. And this is just, to me, it's shocking that he's going to go to this level of absurdity to just speak out of his mouth and not know what he's really saying. Because, guys like Jonathan Taylor, who have been a big part of your offense, and I know he has had a little bit of injury issues as of late, but there's no taking away from the fact that he is a big part of that team. And he is one of the running backs in the NFL that's highly, looked at. So to go out there and run your mouth and say something along the lines of, if we both died, we're not speaking about Jonathan Taylor here. If you want to die and nobody will remember, that's fine. But don't drag Jonathan Taylor's mouth or name into this.
Right.
So the exact quote was, if I died tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us, per The Athletic. The league goes on. We know that. The National Football League rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it, end quote.
I just, to me, that's wrong place, wrong time. You just don't say that.
Right. I look at it and say it's just out of pocket. It's just so out of line with everything that ownership is supposed to be about when it comes to discussing this. Like, you don't discuss public business like this private business like this in front of everybody, especially when you're in a spot like him. Like, he is actually the check signer. He is the guy that owns the franchise. He is one of the 32 in the NFL that have this power of this club of guys and ladies, Miss Amy, that can say, okay, this is how we dictate stuff. When it comes down to how players have always kind of felt about the league, where you use the phrase "not for long," and you have those, it's hard to be vested in this league. Now in Jonathan Taylor's situation, the running back has been devalued. For the ones that want to believe it or just dive into that world, like, you can kind of understand they probably had a conversation, certain owners, about how they feel about the running back position. Or at least, let's say this, the business side of how they look at the running back position may have been discussed amongst themselves, and Jim Irsay didn't help the cause with what he said publicly. I just thought it was just way out of line. I look at it and I just say, it's bad business. He's at a point right now to where if he did anything bad again, I feel like the conversation about him selling or needing to sell the franchise, a step down from ownership, should be at the forefront of all news outlets at this point right here. Yeah. It should be a working relationship between players and ownership. And Jim Irsay has pretty much said, I'm judge, jury, and execution of all things that come through Indianapolis, and that can't sit right.
And just
there.
To go out there after he had the discussion on I think it was the bus with JT.
Yeah.
Just to go out there in front of all those reporters and just vomit of the mouth. Like, there was not a lot of time in between either. Why would you do that? I mean, we talk about Jerry Jones being kind of too much sometimes, right?
Right.
Jim Irsay is, I think, topping him at this point.
He is. And again, it's his business. He's an older dude, want to run it his type of way. But here you have a situation where you have a rookie quarterback. and a guy that has one of the best running backs in the league right now, barring injury. And you mean to tell me you want to crap on this guy and chew him and spit him out? Again, I know we're just numbers to some ownerships, so where some people are just bad owners when it comes down to how they feel their football players are. He's a telltale sign of this right now. No matter what he's done in the past, it seems like this is how we feel about, hey, I tell you to do something, you do it. I understand there is a contract in place.
Sure.
There will be somebody probably call up here and say, hey, he has a contract, honor the contract. There is a such thing as working in good faith when you have somebody that's doing a service for you. And you also want that service from them, and they need it from you too. He's not working in good faith right now.
Yeah, and he's, Jonathan Taylor's making the 18th highest running back salary this season, and he's not the 18th best running back in the league.
Right.
He's not.
Probably more like 6th or 7th.
Agree.
In the NFL.
And real quick, for a team that's laid at the footstep of the NFL draft, of sucking for luck, of trying to find the next Peyton Manning, getting Peyton Manning. Like, you use the system as much as you possibly can to get your franchise to the top. Mm-hmm. And here you are having a player that can help you get your franchise at least to the middle of the road or better, and you choose not to do business with him because it might cost you a little bit more money, or he's not a quarterback. That right there is talking out both sides of his mouth when he spoke about Jonathan Taylor at this point.
At this point, I've never been more confident that the Indianapolis Colts will never be a threat in the AFC as long as Jim Irsay owns the team.
It looks like that, doesn't it? I mean, because ever since Andrew Luck has left, which seemed to be, Jim Irsay was obviously still in place.
Yeah.
But ever since then, there's just not been a lot that's gone right for them. Like, they've still been talked about nationally leading into some of the seasons, but for the most part, just weren't able to capitalize. They've had the quarterback issues. And then Jim Irsay just continuing to spout out stuff that's not helping the franchise, making moves like what he did last year. Sometimes I'm like, not joking. I'm like, do you need like a wellness check? I'm serious. I'm not even joking about it, because I'm just like, what's going on with him that makes him think some of the stuff that he's saying is good business?
Well, if you're not joking about it, social media will. Okay, let's like Will said, what are we holding back for?
Irsay did text Sports Illustrated, "We're not trading Jonathan. End of discussion. Not now and not in October."
Mm-hmm.
It's almost embarrassing to be a Colts fan right now.
I know it's completely embarrassing.
It really is embarrassing when you look at the operation and how they're going about it. It just screams, get rid of that guy. It really does. And then for him to just double down on stuff. And I saw, it was a PFF or was it PFT, one of them that wrote an article this weekend speaking about, the ownership that Jim Irsay is kind of taking on a little bit. This is me paraphrasing what they said. It's like, you want to judge a player on his work ethic and what he deserves and doesn't deserve. A lot of times, sometimes you just go into stuff and it falls your way, but I thought it was very unique. It was like Jim Irsay hasn't worked for much in his entire life in general. Like, he was born with the right DNA when it comes down to him, taking on the ownership of that team. And he's kind of driving it into the ground time after time after time, whether they were forcing Luck back out there soon enough, couldn't protect him, couldn't manage the roster.
Yep.
Peyton exit from the Colts also been a situation too. And now you're in a spot to where you can really take this franchise to a different spot with the potential your young quarterback has, which you still having some of the pieces around defensively to compete. No player that I know would want to go there now. When you have ownership like this is what happens. It may not affect you in the draft because you go get those guys.
Yeah.
You're going to have to probably start overpricing how you go after free agents now, because that's the one thing that you do have as a player. I can choose where I want to go when I'm a free agent. The running back position has been devalued, and it seemed like it started in Indy the way he's talking right now. I feel like he's so loose at the lips that other team owners and managers may have to call him and say, hey, Jim, shut up. You're really saying a lot of stuff out loud that you have no business talking about right now.
I just think sometimes that kind of situation, and we saw it in Washington too, these owners take what they have for granted. I really do look at that, because then I see somebody like Amy Adams Strunk, who I've watched the past 3 days at camp after practice go out of her way to go almost talk to every guy she could talk to, and just say thanks for being here, whatever. A to Z Sports had posted that when she was talking to Arden Keed the other day. And I was just so furious about the Irsay thing. I just posted something like, here Irsay is trashing players while Amy is going around and
Building
thanking
bridges,
him.
right.
I thought I'd get a lot more Colts hate. And surprisingly, maybe that does tell you something about Colts fans had it with Jim Irsay, because I didn't really get much.
Yeah.
In terms of what how it is, the Colts and the Titans rivalry. But really, you look at Amy Adams Strunk, she's had to work really hard to gain that respect amongst league owners, to prove that, she is not her dad.
Right.
But there's things that she carries with her when it comes to that. And then you just got owners Dan Snyder over in Washington, Jim Irsay. Sometimes I feel like taking this position for granted. It's such a position of power. And sometimes I feel like it just gets overused.
Well, he's overused. I'm not sure if it's old age right now when it comes to him trying to press.
Probably a little bit.
You think a little
He's
bit
always
of
been a nut, though. He just had the best quarterback of his generation, for a while there, until Tom Brady won more Super Bowls. But I mean, he just had the second best quarterback of all time as his QB. And then he was gift wrapped like the best quarterback of the next generation. And all of this started because Andrew Luck, who could probably still be playing for the Colts right now, had he followed a normal timeline of his career, decided to hang it up way before anyone expected it. And the fans booed him off the field on his last ever game. And since then, they have been as big of a dumpster fire as there is in the NFL.
Yeah.
And the Titans can't lose to him. So at this point, it feels like almost the Houston rivalry with the Titans has kind of at least drawn even with the Indianapolis one.
I'll say this, reading the headlines and following this weekend when I was away, I actually grew a hate for the Colts. I did, just solely based off of him. Like, I want to see the Titans and anybody else that plays the Colts just bash him in, because his method of operating right now is just so inhumane with how he's treating guys, as far as publicly saying stuff like, "Oh, Ramon, he's paying millions." That sometimes the money don't mean that much when it comes down to respect factor and
he's
how
making millions,
you perceive me too. Yes, that's the billions at this point. But the respect factor and how you treat your employees has to go a long way too. And Jonathan Taylor is an employee of the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, but it also comes down to, hey, I respect you. We exchange a service from one another. You pay me, I play for you. These types. If I'm undervalued and I'm undervalued and I'm going into a contract year and we can't have a simple conversation about, hey, me getting a pay increase, hey, I've actually played my way through this. You've had other running backs come before me, some come after me, and none have played well enough to do what I do. Say what you want to about the position, but there is an importance when you have a rookie quarterback, an unstable offensive line, and I can tell you who the wide receivers are. He is the offensive player number one as it stands on an Indianapolis Colts team.
I
don't know about that,
He's
though.
still
As
young,
far
too,
as-
Michael
guys.
Pittman's pretty good.
Michael Pittman's good, but the one you're going to get the most consistency of with a rookie quarterback may be Jonathan Taylor this year.
I don't know. I think that's maybe a little unfair.
Unfair to
Michael Pittman.
Michael Pittman?
Michael Pittman's the number one wide receiver.
I'm just looking at it as far as who's going to be throwing on the ball this year.
He had 925 yards last year with Matt Ryan and Sam Ehlinger.
But we're talking about right now, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, but he's going to be better than Sam Ehlinger.
Who?
Anthony Richardson.
What are they going to allow him to do, though?
Be way more dynamic than Sam Ehlinger. I mean, that's a backup quarterback.
I'll take your stance on that one as far as saying, look, respectfully, I mean, like, he can make his plays, but what I will say this, I would go on the game plan saying, let's stop Jonathan Taylor before I would stop Michael Pittman Jr.
And
I'm with you. He is a number one.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The one that you're attacking on the scouting week is probably JT first.
Well, and he's in his best years. Like he's not 30.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is still a younger
Is he
running
over 25?
back. I think he's 25.
Is he?
Or around that. So you're going to have
24.
24.
Yes.
There we go.
You're just going to.
And I'll say this. The one thing that he did do is strengthen up his trade value by saying we're not trading him now, we're not trading him in October. If Jonathan Taylor come out and say, I never said I had back pain, well, guess what? Now you can't put him on the what's it, PUP?
Non-football injury.
NFI. Yeah.
Or NFI? Okay.
Yeah, NFI list, which is insane that he's already thought about doing that as Irsay.
Because you're not paying him.
That's insane.
The contract resets next year.
That's like the ultimate That's the ultimate just spit in someone's face.
It is.
Is that not the worst?
I know. Because IR, your contract's guaranteed.
You guarantee.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Or PUP, you get paid too.
Uh-huh.
So you don't get paid.
It's told for the
Okay.
next year. You
Okay.
basically, if you had an ATV accident
Yeah.
and they say, you know what? We're not gonna hurt you, but we're not gonna pay you,
Yep.
and this contract don't count for next year. Or this contract doesn't count for this year. You get the same money next year. They'll toll it. The fact that ownership said that.
Dang.
Crazy. Coming up, one former Vol hit a big-time mark at an NFL training camp practice. And there is one former Tennessee player, Tennessee rookie, who is impressing more than anyone else that has just graduated and entered the league. And I'm not sure it's close at this point of the process. 615-737-1045. More on that and more coming up on our own Kalen and Will.
We talk all the time about the diamonds at Genesis. Diamonds. That's their specialty. Diamonds are not a side business for Genesis. It's at the core of who they are. That's why Genesis has 30-plus year connections in the industry. It's how they can truly cut out layers of middlemen and their markups. It's how Genesis can maintain a diamond selection that's up to 30 times what you find at other stores. This is a diamond powerhouse, whether you're looking for a half a carat or 20 carats. But don't forget, Genesis has case after case of exquisite fashion jewelry as well. They have earrings, bracelets, pendants, bands, colored gemstone, gold jewelry. The list goes on. And Genesis is partnering with all the top designers in the jewelry world. Top designers from New York and California with handcrafted pieces, one-of-a-kind heirloom jewelry. And on top of all of this, Genesis has one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in America. And if you're dreaming of a Rolex, go see the pristine pre-owned models they have in stock right now. Hundreds to pick from. Best part about Genesis, though, the people. Nobody's on commissions there. They work in your best interest, and they have a passion for making every customer a raving fan. Whatever you need in jewelry, this is hands down the best place to go. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
So we knew Jalen Hyatt at the University of Tennessee was fast, and then he ran a 4.4. But now at New York Giants training camp, he is maybe even faster than we expected. As we continue here this morning in Hour 1 on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 615-737-1045 is our number. How about 24 miles per hour for Jalen Hyatt in practice? We're talking about practice. According to Giants beat reporter Art Stapleton, who reported yesterday that Hyatt has reached 24 miles per hour on the team's GPS tracking technology, quote, a few times. The fastest speed ever recorded in NFL history was clocked by Tyreek Hill in 2016 when he ran 23.2 miles per hour. The highest speed that legendary sprinter Usain Bolt, the GOAT, ever reached in his career was 27.8 miles per hour.
Wow.
Welcome sight for New York Giants fans at an offense that averaged 185 passing yards per game last season. Only 6 teams were worse. That includes your Tennessee Titans. But Jalen Hyatt showcasing that football speed is a little bit different than underwear speed in the NFL Combine.
That's awesome that even Danny Dimes brought it up. It was like, hey.
Yes, he did.
Hey, did he tell you? And I don't think Jalen knew at the time, did he?
I think he knew. He was walking by reporters, and Daniel Jones basically just goes, "Oh, did he tell you how fast he ran today?"
It just really, hopefully, because it's 40 time. I think I thought it was going to be like a 4.2-ish.
I think people were a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, and I don't know what was going on with him from then to now as far as his training, but this is what you were looking for from him when he got drafted was the speed. Well, I got to take the top off of the defense. Now, those news articles are circulating now. The kid runs 24 miles per hour in spurts, however you want to phrase it, right? If he has the catching ability, which he does, then you got a guy that can really plant himself in the NFL as a threat. Again, it goes to the offense that we spoke about last year. Well, it's the scheme.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to be the conversation for most Tennessee wide receivers. Well, it was the scheme that got him open. Now you're hearing the NFL, well, this dude actually ran pretty fast in practice. Like Will said, we're talking about practice running that fast. I was 5 slow in general, okay? But in practice, I was 5 never go, okay? Like that's the difference between practice and a game is the adrenaline's going to jump in. And that's when you might actually see a better product than him. And I'm glad to kind of see the speed be reported because – now we can potentially get away from the scheme that they'll say the Tennessee offense had.
Well, and I think 40s are always a little overrated 40 times. I'm not super high on that kind of stuff. I think the Combine's fascinating to see that physical, the physical attributes from some of these guys. Yeah. But then again, like if you do go in like Jalen Hyatt did and kind of underwhelmed because of all the talk, but it matters in a game. That's when it matters. And so as long as he's doing that and excelling in a game and utilizing his speed in a game, like that's the bottom line. That's what matters. And that's what's encouraging to see. Because as a rookie, that's what you want to do. You want to make an impression. And if you're making an impression, not only, to the people watching, but to your quarterback, who potentially is going to be the guy that's going to be trying to find you out there.
You need trust from.
You need trust from him. And I think it's good that Daniel Jones said this too, because he clearly sees Hyatt and his, what he's going to be able to utilize in terms of the speed part of him. I think Jalen Hyatt could definitely be one of the better rookies in the league this year. Yeah. He works hard. We've always heard that. He continues to work. I loved hearing that.
I did too.
Well, he's going into a perfect situation, and it seems like the rookie wide receivers who end up having the biggest impacts are the A.J. Browns, the DK Metcalfs, the George Pickens, the Deebo Samuels, who are ending up with good franchises right off the jump. Not the premium wide receivers. I mean, it's not always the Drake Londons and the, Mike Williams and John Ross and Corey Davis. And every class is created differently, and today's college offenses are giving you a different kind of receiver even than 5 or 6 years ago, but it's the guys like that end up with a good quarterback as rookies who are closest to the Rookie of the Year race when it's all said and done.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that Rookie of the Year race also is just a quarterback award because A.J. Brown still should have beaten Kyler Murray for that award back in 2019. But still.
But to that point, sometimes as a rookie, Kayla, you just need a one-trick pony. And that one trick is very valuable to a team.
Sure, it is.
Shocker, but Bill Belichick deflected questions about Ezekiel Elliott. Speaking Sunday, Ezekiel Elliott visiting New England. He basically said, the roster's at 90 players, so if we add someone, we'll have to cut someone. Thanks, Bill. In Minnesota, Danielle Hunter gets a new contract, a one-year deal that can be worth up to $20 million. Hunter will receive $17 million guaranteed. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, that Minnesota is right in the same situation as the Titans.
Yeah.
Former San Francisco assistant general manager to John Lynch, Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill, very similar quarterbacks, really good running backs who, for Minnesota this year, was cut. This time next year, who knows what the situation is with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. I think anytime you're looking for what will the Titans maybe look like a year from now, Minnesota might be the proof of concept. Only difference is they had a first-year head coach last year, Kevin O'Connell.
Joint practices, too, this year.
That's right.
That's right, up in Minnesota.
Up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Quincy Adolfo Mensa and Rand Carthon, former teammates, meaning front office teammates
Yeah.
in San Fran. 615-737-1045 is the number. We talk Titans with you coming up in hour number 2, where the defense won the day on Saturday, and Kevin Byard wanted everybody to know about it. Bullet points from Saturday's practice from Kayla Anderson and from quotes that are interesting in hour number 2 as we recap the weekend that was for the Tennessee Titans. Coming up next as we continue on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
What's going on? Just about 7 o'clock on the dot. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Some nuggets from over the NFL weekend to keep you up to date on. The Colts running back Jonathan Taylor requests a trade, and Jim Irsay says, how about no? The Colts are contemplating placing Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list due to a back injury he suffered away from a team. That means if Taylor didn't play this year, his contract would toll over to 2024, and the Colts wouldn't owe him anything for 2023. Jonathan Taylor refutes the reports of back pain. Rams running back Sony Michel retires. Sony played 5 years in the NFL, starting 35 of 65 games and rushing for 3,243 yards and 18 touchdowns over that time. In Seattle, head coach Pete Carroll told reporters that rookie running back Zach Charbonnet has a shoulder injury and is out indefinitely. Meanwhile, Kenneth Walker III also has a groin injury and could be out a while. To Minnesota with the Vikings, as they agreed to terms with Danielle Hunter on a new one-year deal worth up to $20 million. Hunter gets $17 million fully guaranteed, plus no franchise tag or transition tag, which means he will hit free agency in 2024. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Monday morning on RKW. It's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Coming up here in hour number 2, who is surprised or impressed? Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson the most through the first 3 Titans training camp practices as pads go on this week and the energy takes another step up. But the energy's always on 10 when we talk to you on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We've got Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Robert Walsh behind the glass. I'm Will Bowling. And Saturday practice in the heat. Kayla continued over the weekend.
It was hot. Rhett Bryan came in here in one of the breaks and said, yeah, the heat was turned up to another level on Saturday. He's not wrong. And the fans were out there. It was one of the days where if you had won the fan lottery to come to practice, you were out there. So maybe that added to the heat on the sideline. But altogether, though, really a fun day when it came to watching practice. Because you definitely felt the energy of the defense.
Yeah.
You've been feeling that pretty much the last 3 days that they have practiced, but this one, clearly a day they won when you ask the players. Now, Mike Vrabel, if you ask Mike Vrabel, he'll downplay it and say, don't go out there and I'm going to be interested to see how many of you write the defense won. Yeah. Don't go out there and, write all. Well, they kind of did.
Yeah.
Coach. They kind of did. So that was fun to see, because they're definitely vocal about the fact that they won.
One of my favorite, and by favorite I mean least favorite, training camp cliches, and there are a lot of training camp cliches, is the reporter and or person who will always remind you, the defense starts ahead of the offense at these things. I don't know if you ever watched one of these before, but, the defense always starts ahead of the offense. So, really, you shouldn't be concerned about it. Like, it's like the guy that watches fireworks. It's like, hey, here's the big finish coming up right here. This is the big finish that now all these fireworks are going to start going off. This is what you should really be looking.
Like
that still happens.
Like, guys, we do this every fall.
He's timed it up like it's 28 minutes in. It's a 30-minute show. Here comes a big finish.
Yeah.
It's like, the defense should still be making plays. That's usually the way this works. Like, we just magically forget the way training camp works every fall.
You know
we
what?
Remember.
As an offensive player, that was what I leaned on right there, 100%.
Was it really?
It was 2 things that I always made sure stay at the forefront of going into training camp. These 2 things as a player. Now I'm on the media side. I got to watch what I say now.
Right.
Will's going to be like, Ramon, you're the reporter. But it was this. The defense does start faster
Why?
because they don't have much to think about. They can make mistakes and still make plays. The offense make mistakes, the play is done for.
Sure.
So that's what it is. I won't say they don't have much to think about. I know they have a lot of stuff to think
I was
about.
going to say, Keith Bullock's going to enter our chat again and kneecap you for saying that.
They have
and Bryant McFadden coming up in an hour.
Right.
Their method of messing up is way more lenient than ours is. 11 have to be doing the exact same thing. If a D lineman move out of the gap and we go the opposite way, you never knew they went out of their gap, is what I'm saying. If a linebacker drops in coverage and somebody else make a play, then that's what's supposed to happen too. So I had to always remember that, which is why the defense starts faster than we do. The other thing was this: you're always going to be tired. No matter when. The first day, if they putting on pads a day, Kayla, no matter how much conditioning you had, no matter how much core you had also, how many weights you've lifted, you are going to be dog tired.
D-Hop didn't look tired.
You know, well, hey, he's different, Kayla.
I know, right?
I'm telling you, as far as the offensive line, defensive line, the pushing and moving, you're just always going to be tired. It is what it is. So you're going to feel worn down. I'll say that, not tired, worn down, because you can continue to practice.
Well, I don't think there's a chance for the defense to lose energy on the sideline with Arden Key from start to finish of training camp practices, literally screaming at the top of his lungs after every play or before every play. Like the energy just like carries throughout that defense with that added voice on top of Jeffrey Simmons and his Big Jeff energy. My goodness.
Hey, man. Good personalities. Definitely.
He's a perfect fit in that room for sure. That was excellent on Saturday. Kevin Byard reminding reporters of that as he runs by Jim Wyatt after practice, says, hey, make sure you get it right, Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim Wyatt on TennesseeTitans.com says, yes, I saw it. The defense set the tone in a spirited practice. 4 drops on Saturday for the Titans. Alize Mack, Tajay Spears, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Kearis Jackson. All with drops. We were talking about this in the break. It actually feels like there's the least amount of competition now at the wide receiver position than there's been in recent years.
Okay.
Because Nick Westbrook-Akine is no longer a bubble player. Nick Westbrook-Akine is on the team.
Yeah.
In past seasons, he's been kind of lumped in with those guys where you had Marcus Johnson and you had Chester Rogers and you had Nick Westbrook-Akine and Racey McMath and you essentially had 5 or 6 guys battling for 2 spots. This year it seems like you've got 4 guys maybe fighting for 1 spot that might not even make the team as it is. So you've got 5 wide receivers who are in.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins, Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Chris Moore. You feel like are on the roster.
Yeah.
Then the question becomes, will the Titans keep a 6th wide receiver? And you've got Racey McMath, Colton Dowell, the 7th-round pick out of UT Martin.
Right.
Kearis Jackson, the undrafted out of Georgia. And Trayshawn Harrison, the undrafted player out of Oregon State, who has likely been the most impressive out of all of those 4 guys. And this is, again, guys, where the question of how much do the Titans value kickoffs and special teams under new NFL rules will come into play.
Yeah.
And this, I'd almost think Colton Dowell would get the first stab at it because he's this year's draft pick.
I don't know.
But let me say this.
They've been quick to cut him in the past, though.
I know, and that's what I was going to say.
Rounders.
The money doesn't make you feel obligated to keep him. I'd expect him being the draft pick, he'd get a shot at it. But these days, the money don't matter as much as it used to. And, of course, with Rand being his first time around, like, okay, he was a 7th-round draft pick as far as it goes. This is a good place to be if you're the Titans because now you're really going to see who's the best of the best when it comes down to them competing. And it might not be the best athlete. It may just be the one that's going to do a little bit more, special team, kickoff return, or play a role as a gunner. We heard Vrabel speak about that. You know what I'm saying? So somebody's going to have to earn their keep. But to your point, Will, it won't be at wide receiver primarily.
Well, and we heard Rand Carthon say last week, look, we're going to keep the best 53 men on this roster, period. So if that happens to be Trayshawn Harrison, the undrafted free agent out of Oregon State, then he's probably going to make it over Colton Dowell, who was a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
And worst comes to worst, guys, Colton Dowell makes the practice squad, right? And you have that guy, you continue to develop that guy there. Yeah. And we know how injuries strike any team, but especially this team, it's been a thing. having those guys and continuing to build them in the practice squad and then be able to bring those guys up, they're gonna be brought up at some time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried about that, but you're right, Will. I think you can pretty much check off who those wide receivers will be to start the season. Now anything could happen, injuries,
That's
whatever.
very true.
But it is a little different from in the past where it has been kind of like, well, let's wait till like the last week to see who really makes that room.
Mm-hmm.
And in the F&M Bank chat this morning, I personally think the opinion that any of these undrafted guys are ahead of Nick Westbrook-Akine is pretty delusional.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not happening, guys.
Yeah.
Because the value Nick
It's not
Westbrook-Akine
happening.
gives this team on special teams, in addition to the consistent guy that he's been over the last 2 seasons, Nick Westbrook-Akine is absolutely on this roster.
Yeah.
Unless he gets hurt.
Exactly. I'll tell you this right now. There is still ways that the Titans do things, and Mike Vrabel likes his certain players because they are versatile, because they've worked hard. He's not going to sit there and cut Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yeah.
Like, at
not
this
gonna
point,
happen.
it's not happening.
If it's not happening 2 years ago when this team had as much competition at wide receiver as they've ever had under Mike Vrabel, it's definitely not happening now.
No, and I think he's a pro's pro when it comes down to him
He is.
doing his job and knowing his role also. Big body guy, Titans like that.
He just does it in a quieter way.
He does it in a quieter way. And that's what I was going to say. His only default is you're familiar with him and you think you want a new item because you got new players that you don't know about in camp. As a player, I always hated that type of stuff. It's like, I understand what's going on right now. He's the new thing and y'all think the new thing is going to work. NWI is good. And before D-Hop got signed, I mean, he was your number 2 essentially.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I think the Titans keep 6 receivers is essentially what happens.
Yep.
2021, they kept 7. In that season, we mentioned all the competition they had at wide receiver. They had Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Titans legend, Marcus Johnson, Chester Rogers, Cameron Batson, another Titans legend,
Yep.
and Nick Westbrook-Akine. I think you ultimately see those first 5 we mentioned, and I think Trayshawn Harrison is probably the leader in the clubhouse to be the 6th.
I do too.
And if there's 7, you probably see Racey McMath. Are we done with the Racey McMath experience? Is it time to move on to somebody that isn't just giving you special teams value?
Look, I was never the biggest in terms of, now this is nothing against Racey McMath at all, but I was never like thinking this is going to be a guy that can be a huge impact in the wide receiver room. I always thought more of a special teams guy.
Yeah.
He kind of sat behind some guys at LSU just because of the depth they had there. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. And coming up next, more Titans takeaways from the weekend where one player has certainly impressed. And when the head coach shouts you out here at St. Thomas Sports Park, you know you're doing something right. That was the case for Christian Fulton over the weekend. We'll hear what Mike Vrabel had to say about him and get our thoughts on the first 3 practices. Who has surprised or impressed you the most through the opening half week, so to speak, of Tennessee Titans training camp? On the other side, as we continue on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Hey, it's Will Bowling. You deserve all the comforts of home, including endless hot water at your fingertips. Tankless water heaters, powered by new recirculation systems, save energy, money, time, and space. And Lee Company has a great offer for you. Listen to this, a limited time offer of $750 off a tankless water heater when you purchase a recirculation system. To make the heater even sweeter, qualified buyers receive 18 months of 0% financing. You got to take advantage of this offer today and call my friends at Lee Company at 615-567-1000 or go to leecompany.com/promotions to get $750 off a tankless water heater. Do what I do and trust the folks who have been trusted for nearly 80 years here in Middle Tennessee. They're open 24/7 and ready to help you at a moment's notice. So get $750 off a tankless water heater when you purchase a recirculation system from Lee Company by calling 615-567-1000. Online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Monday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is our number. Got some time to take your calls on the Titans, your concerns, your questions. 615-737-1045 with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh making the show happen. I'm Will Bowling.
I had to say something to Bert
Look
here
at
too,
this.
man. Bert is so
Just-
he good at what he do sometimes, man. Okay,
He
I'm
knows
just gonna throw
music.
that out
You're
there.
just-
Okay,
You just talking back to him? And
I did. I was. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, Bert, on the first day of pads, you play "Ring My Bell."
Who sings this?
Donna Summers.
I have no idea.
George Strait.
He was here over the weekend.
He
In the downpour.
So was Tim McCaw.
Oh,
The Nashville Zoo.
Hey, ring my bell on the first day of pass. By the way, the George Strait concert got
Get a lot of
canceled,
rain.
too. That was
Yeah.
it that bad here this weekend?
Apparently, I
Oh yeah, you weren't
Wasn't
here
here
either. Yeah,
I think there was
right.
just like that night.
at that night.
There was a lot of rain.
that
Who
was,
does sing Ring My Bell?
Donna Summers.
Donna Summers.
Oh, really?
Well, this
Yeah.
is a neat award.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
I was going to say, I don't think so.
Anita Ward. Whoops, we're wrong, Moan.
Okay,
Yeah, I need a ward.
good, didn't it?
It did. I thought it was Donna Summers too.
1979.
I need to Google who sings this song.
I need to Google it.
It's incredible.
Hey,
That's
it's better when
pretty
I just
good.
throw an answer at you. Like that was-
Anita Ward. Okay, and
Somebody-
she is 66.
somebody swerving in the car like right now. Ramon, what's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. You're right. That's my bad.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we got some tickets to give away.
Yeah.
At the end of this
Right.
Titans conversation, we will have tickets for you to hang out with us. Yes, we will be there. So it's not one of those where we're just giving you tickets and tell you
We don't
what
show
time
up.
to be home, before it's dark out.
Right.
We have teamed up with the Nashville Sounds for another party with our listeners. Wednesday, that's this Wednesday, August the 2nd, as the Sounds host the Durham Bulls. In 15 minutes, we will have your chance to win some tickets. So don't go anywhere.
Nice.
And if you call now, you ain't gonna win it.
Yeah, if you call now, then you're not going to get any tickets.
I'll remember your voice.
Yeah,
And you're
and
gonna
you'll
like
be on
it.
Bert's bad list.
That's right. Who has been a pleasant surprise or someone who has impressed you at Titans training camp so far? I think it's fair to say who Mike Vrabel would pick, and we've got the audio of that coming up here in a minute. But who have you guys seen over the last 3 practices who has caught your eye so far?
Me personally, I go first. You've seen more than I have, Kayla. So far, it's Arden Key. Arden.
Love that guy.
His rush, his intensity, the way he's pushing these tackles that need to be pushed right now, though, too. He does it without a care. It's just what he does. Having a guy like that, like you need certain type of flavors on your team.
Mm-hmm.
He's a flavor that every team wants. You know what I'm saying? That one guy that works hard and they are cheerful about working.
Yeah.
That's him. Like he wins, so what? I'm supposed to win. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He have a bad play, so what? I'm supposed to have a bad play too. Like seeing him do that type of work is one of the things you say to yourself. You need to have your mind right if you play NFL football because he can really capitalize off of that. So Arden Key is my pick.
And it's hard to miss Arden Key because he is so vocal out there. Even Big Jeff said the minute he walks in that building, I think he shared a story on Saturday that
Yeah.
Arden Key was in the training room and just hopped in the cold tub and said, "Let's go," or something crazy, just like in the middle of the morning, right before they even got on
Cold
the practice
tub.
field,
Yeah.
just ready to get the day going. And him and Jeff Simmons compete out there. Like they'll tell you they're competing for how many sacks they can get.
I love
you
how
know?
Jeff does that.
Jeff
Jeff picks a
picks
battle
that.
with everybody.
He does.
It was who was it last year that he picked a battle with more times from State? Golly,
Was it
Danico.
Okay,
him
was it
and
Danico?
Or him and Harold. I mean, like Jeff
Jeff's
does
good
that.
at
to
that.
put-
Wasn't
Yeah, he's
Harold
good at
last year.
that.
Jeff's
it
good at
wasn't
that.
Harold last year, but before, yeah.
So I'm gonna go on opposite side, and I'm gonna go Rashad Weaver.
But Rashad.
Look, there's not been in one practice that I've not seen Rashad make a play. Rashad made an incredible play on Saturday
Yeah.
where he pretty much got up in Willis's face and batted down and got the interception. And actually, Jeffrey Simmons joked and said Mike Vrabel's a little bit worried that he was getting too close to the quarterback in that situation. But him and Harold were just jacked on the sideline too. When Rashad Weaver came to the sideline, Harold was just like smile on his face, like, "Oh man, this is."
Yeah.
And why I say that's important for Rashad Weaver to be showing out like this is because he has put in the work, but he needs to be a depth player for them. And it's so important on that defensive line to have that depth.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to make that line even more deadly and that defense even more deadly is to have the guys that can just come in, right?
Yep.
So he's off to an incredible start from what I've seen.
From my perspective, from someone who hasn't been out at practice in person, yet is following the reports and the videos and the conversation around each practice, it's hard not to be impressed by how quickly DeAndre Hopkins has made his presence felt at practice.
Yeah.
And it feels completely different, guys, to me than Julio Jones did, because Julio Jones at this point of Titans training camp was already hurt.
Yep.
He already had his first hamstring injury. And genuinely, it was on his first catch.
You're right.
At Titans training camp 2 years ago in the back of the end zone. So DeAndre Hopkins has already outperformed the first training camp for Julio Jones because he's available and playing. And I think when you set the expectation that DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss a couple of the early practices and then he is there, it kind of gives you the ability to just give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit of, hey, this guy came in with a conflict, a scheduling thing that's, unbeknownst to the general public and was catching a flight and, left the first practice halfway through.
But he's been at all the rest.
But Mike Vrabel said originally, he might have to miss the first couple of days, and then he was there. So that, to me, is, okay, that's impressive. Maybe I'm giving him too much of the benefit of the doubt there, but when you're talking about guys who have made highlight catches and have made retweetable plays, DeAndre Hopkins is number one on that list so far from Titans camp.
And also made quote tweets that said, not bad for a guy that doesn't practice.
And unlike a former Titans wide receiver, he does not delete those tweets after the fact when he goes after somebody's neck.
It's funny. He's been on social media for the last week, just kind of like coming at random people, or if there's like a good play or something, like he'll retweet it. I think it's really funny that he kind of keeps up with that stuff, but it doesn't seem to bother him. It seems to be something that feeds the beast in a way.
Yes.
So I kind of enjoy that. And when we spoke to him at the podium, I think it was Saturday, it's interesting. He's really a soft-spoken kind of guy too. Like you wouldn't really think that that's the way he is because just what he does on the field is so impressive. But he's just kind of a cool, calm, collective guy when he's in front of the media, at least us early on. And I thought Will would enjoy this. He's a big fan of Lionel Messi. He wears the number 10 really because he has always grown up a fan of him, and he loves soccer. So I asked him, are you going to go to a Nashville SC game? And he says, I've heard that's a pretty cool stadium. So you need to get him to a Nashville SC game, Will.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hook him up.
You will.
Trying to see. I wonder if we play Houston, we could take another thing from them.
There we go.
For the rest of
Perfect.
the season.
I like that.
He can always find a way to take a dig, man.
I'm sure D-Hop
do
would
not.
be up for
Do
that.
not play that. Okay,
Dang.
that was good, man.
Miami play here?
No, they do not. We
Okay.
already saw Miami play here because that was our RKW night out.
That's right. That was that game. I was going to say.
It was.
Nashville SC will play Lionel Messi on August the 30th on a Wednesday night at Drive Pink Stadium down in Miami. Down in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale.
And that was talking soccer.
There we go.
There we go. Paid it off.
615-737-1045, the number. Trippin' Titans at the F&M Bank chat asks, curious how the starting corners work out. Is McCrary really better than Sean Murphy Bunting? I don't think they're playing the same position
No,
at
it's
this
not
point.
the same thing. No.
Can't really give too much detail on where guys are playing, but I would argue that Roger McCreary's most natural position coming into the NFL is inside corner.
Correct.
And with his size, with his arm length, with his skill set, he is going to be a best fit inside versus outside. It had to play outside based off of need last year because, the guy that Mike Vrabel keeps complimenting wasn't available.
Yeah.
And that's Christian Fulton. And when Mike Vrabel says things like this, you perk up a little bit because when Mike Vrabel gives praise or gives criticism, different than the normal stock Belichickian answers, it catches your attention because he's trying to send a message to somebody, whether it's the person in question or the other people in the room that plays with that person. This was Mike Vrabel giving a noteworthy comment over the weekend on Christian Fulton.
Trying to stay consistent and be good in the multiple coverages that we're asking them to play. And again, just as physical to me. He just, and again, there were times last year early on, just from his rehab and things that he was going through, he just looks, physically he looked better. Physically he looked, selling this morning at breakfast. And you at your weight, we're monitoring that. And those are things, we have guys that have different problems than the head coach. They have trouble, keeping weight on. And so, we monitor that and making sure that for these hot days that they're eating, and Lauren and Frank and Todd are on top of that. So that's part of, I think Christian, just his overall strength and his size, that he can be 195 pounds and still be athletic and still be able to run and transition. So far so good.
There's Mike Vrabel over the weekend on Christian Fulton, and it raises the question, Ramon, from your perspective as a former player, does every player have a specific weight where they feel their best? And how big is that range?
Oh, yeah. It's within like 5 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, within 5
that
pounds.
Small.
Yeah, I know. But it goes that way, too. You have to find a level of adjusting whenever you hit above or below that, too. I've seen guys be nervous about being underweight. Like, the Christian Fulton's probably a guy that if you didn't catch him, he'd probably weigh in with like a 5-pound weight in his pants. Like, I've seen DBs do that. Of course, I've seen offensive linemen and defensive linemen do the exact same, or tight ends and linebackers. Like, seeing a guy be playing well at 235, but then if they hit 242, strength coach going to say a little something. Coach going to say, hey, we need to make sure we keep this in line, because if it goes up, then you got to watch it, make sure it doesn't go any further. And this is the thing, too, the optics of what you actually see in correlation to what you know. If a coach thinks you're a tick slower because you've gained a couple pounds, then it's true. Mm-hmm. Not even if you're, hey, coach, I'm a little hurt right now. Well, it's probably because you got a couple extra pounds. It's within like a 5 to 7 pound range as to where guys feel comfortable at. And for a guy like Christian Fulton, who's trained hard, it's probably been it's probably so locked in on his mind now moving forward, because he actually was challenged to it also this offseason, that it's become a part of his lifestyle now. So it's probably why he feels a little bit better about it, making sure that he's eating. Vrabel notices a little bit more too. And it just gives the one thing that you don't have to worry about anymore. Let's just play football.
Well, and you're exactly right. I went up to Christian after practice, and look, he looks different, guys. He looks completely different.
Yeah.
And I said, awesome for you, like, to be able to do what you did in the off season. And he's like, yeah, I just want to try something different. I feel good. Mm-hmm. And it's showing out on the field. Yeah. Like, there's a difference between what I see in Christian Fulton in previous training camps and what I'm seeing out of him in this camp. He feels confident in not only what he's doing, but his body. Yeah. Like, and that maybe he's not going to, after this play, pull a hammy. Like, he's been, maybe not properly ready to go into the season
Probably didn't
before.
Know how to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's different, and you see that out on the field. And that's going up against a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, which he's seen already several times in practice and one-on-ones.
But the best thing about all of this is you have a good coach in Vrabel. It's one thing for a coach to publicly criticize somebody. And he went at Christian Fulton. Right. He went at some other guys that's not on this team, too. The sign of a good coach is being able to, critique somebody, be hard on them, but guide them through the process, tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And on the back end of this, Vrabel comes back on this past Saturday and said, hey, my guy did what he was supposed to do. You know what that does for Christian Fulton moving forward?
Yeah.
It catapults him.
Yeah.
Mentally, more than anything, knowing he got my back because I did what I was supposed to do.
We also trusted Christian to go do his thing with his trainer.
Yep.
And he wasn't at the first part of OTAs. That didn't seem to be an issue now.
Yep.
So.
Sign of a good coach that understands
you're right.
his player.
I would be curious to know how much input the Titans and the training staff and Mike Vrabel specifically had with Christian's personal trainers on what they wanted him doing. Mm-hmm. Because it feels like there could be two situations at play here. Either Christian Fulton, after hearing Mike Vrabel's public criticism of him, leaned more into the Titans' way of thinking and went offside a little bit and did something that was different to the advice of the Titans organization. Or there's what I think probably did happen, where Christian Fulton said, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself and figure out a way to train on my own, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm not lazy, and this is on you guys for not training me the right way. Because at face value, guys, I got to be honest, this is not a ringing endorsement of the Titans offseason program. Of, hey, a guy practices with you all offseason, is with you all training camp, doesn't miss any kind of practices, and then gets criticized for not being in good enough shape. And then he goes off campus and goes off site to work out. And now you're saying, oh, he looks better than he ever has before. It's not great.
No.
He's not the only leader on this team either who's practicing. Kevin Byard goes into
Oh,
his
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And Amani has done that with
Derrick
Kev.
Henry.
I would push back just a smidge on that, though, Will, too. I think you training in-house for that first couple, 2-3 years that he's done it is probably a good baseline to know
that's
what
fair.
you should and should not do.
It's
to
very
be
fair.
fair to the trainers that the Titans have, or the
Yeah.
weight staff. But some guys have to go to the Olympic-style lifts. You feel me?
And that's why I say at face
Yeah,
value.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
Yeah.
going to pretend to know what's happening behind closed doors when it comes to the Titans, their training staff. I'm giving the listener and you guys the two options of
That's fair.
the way this looks from the outside.
Outside.
And we can speculate on whichever one it is. But at face value, Mike Vrabel is risking kind of taking a little bit of a hit there by criticizing and then now complimenting a guy after he does something not within the building.
And I'll say this, to be fair to the trainers or the weight staff inside, so I know this to be true. Those guys are employed by the team. Those guys, if they get you hurt more times than not, will also be fired too, is the point behind it. Like some trainers and NFL staffs are injury prevention. I'm not here to push you, hey, we hit 405 for 2. There's no reason for us to do 455 for 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, our threshold is good to where your off-site trainer, my guy here, would just be like, hey, let's do another one. You know what I'm saying? Because they see you different. They enjoy working with the guy that they know is selling out as much as they possibly can to be the best they possibly want to be too. So when you have an off-site guy that focuses solely on you, that know you, see you every single day, know when you're hurting, like it is a different mindset from those off-site trainers.
And I just think as long as Mike Vrabel and that staff are okay with then if these guys aren't getting the results that they need to with what's going on at that facility in the offseason, if they're okay with them going and finding their own guy and working with them for what's right for their body and they accept that, then that's cool, you know, because everybody's different and every position is different in how you need to train and how you need to feel comfortable coming back. And the older you get, the more you realize that too. So just as long as the communication is there and they understand that, I think that's the way that they should work with these types of things in the future. If they're not getting it there, let them go out and do their thing with their trainer.
Real pro.
I think it's fair to assume, too, that Mike Vrabel has probably evolved in that level of thinking as well since his first season as a head coach in 2018.
100%.
I listened to his full conversation with Taylor Lewan and Will Compton on Bussin' with the Boys over the weekend. It's actually one thing Taylor says right off the jump from that interview is you do a really good job talking to Vrabel of switching from drill sergeant to one of the boys
Sure.
when he needs to and has the space to.
Yeah.
Basically says you do a really good job of switching from disciplinarian and kind of a jerk on the practice field sometimes and in the film room to like being an advocate for the players.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's not softened a little bit since he first got here, but he picks and chooses his moments a bit more carefully to be strict and to be really stern with the players.
I agree. And that's the evolution of a coach too,
It
right?
is.
You got to have that.
It is.
Coming up, Kayla's conversation with Titans corner Roger McCreary coming off the practice field over the weekend and new insight into Chris Harris's way of coaching. Speaking of coaches and evolutions within the Titans facility. Coming up next on our own Kayla and Will. Monday morning continues on RKW, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, as we give away some tickets. That's right. 104.5 The Zone has teamed up with the Nashville Sounds for another party with our listeners. You can listen to RKW for a chance right now, and listen and follow us on social media for a chance the rest of the week to head to the bandbox with us Wednesday night as the Nashville Sounds take on the Durham Bulls. 615-737-1045. You've got a pair of tickets to give away right now at 615-737-1045 to hang out with us Wednesday night as the Sounds host the Bulls. Look forward to seeing you there. The AAA affiliate of who, Ramon Foster?
The Bulls?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would possibly be the Washington Nationals.
Nope.
Incorrect.
Nope.
Nope.
That would be the Syracuse. Ooh, who's the Syracuse? What's the Syracuse
Got a
name?
Syracuse team?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
It's down in Florida. We'll give you that hint.
Huh.
Is it? I didn't even know where Durham was.
Durham's
No, the
North Carolina.
affiliate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what Durham is?
Well, no, yeah, I was. Yes, I do. I was going to say
Yeah,
there's a.
but-
I was saying that because there's a Durham, Florida, but there's not a Durham, Florida. It's
Yeah,
Durham,
okay.
North Carolina.
I was about to say, that ain't the big J journalist. I know Will Bowling.
Tampa Bay Rays, Ramon Foster.
Are they really?
Yep,
I said that last week, and you were here.
I was?
You were.
that's correct.
That you were.
You know what, Kayla, that's on me.
I do see a scenario of that. AAA for the Nationals. I was wrong, actually. It's the Rochester Red Wings now.
Oh, there we
All
go.
those affiliates have changed so
They
much
have.
since the pandemic. That used to be the thing I knew the most.
Yeah.
I could do instant trivia on minor league affiliates. No longer.
So do you just buy a new franchise or you just trade out? teams?
Basically, the
Yeah.
way the complex answer. We don't have time.
Okay,
to go
all right.
into
We
the
don't have
details.
any-
I'm
we don't
not
have
going
the facilities for that
bore
big
the
man.
listeners with minor league baseball details of affiliation and the middle of training camp. But essentially, Major League Baseball changed the way they all collectively bargain and the way they're assigned after the pandemic.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that because they almost lost a few. Well, they lost a few teams.
It was
didn't they?
basically the end of the Pacific Coast League and whatever the other league was called in AAA baseball and all those things. So it changed the affiliations a ton.
Hey, we got to stop attacking the left coast, okay? Kayla's running hot
What are you
this
talking
morning
about?
about the Pac-12, and now
Don't get
they,
me started.
They
Don't even
mess
say
with
the
the
Please don't
Pacific
get her
Coast.
started.
I'm not.
Don't start it.
That's it. No, that's it.
Except for we might need to be reporting here in the future on that because I bet you stuff's going
Yeah,
down.
we will.
Yeah,
for
as soon
sure.
as,
Definitely.
Oh, is something happening with the Pac-12? I had no idea.
Dang it, Robert.
Don't
Let's
do
just
it,
say if you
Kayla.
mention it
Yeah,
around
yeah.
me, I might slap you.
Don't do it, Kayla.
Just a flat out frontal.
She looked down real quick, and I was like, "Oh,
Like Cardi B, I might throw my mic at you.
I'm glad there's some glass between us.
Well, Roger McCreary spoke to Kayla and not about the Pac-12 over the weekend.
No, he didn't.
And talked about Chris Harris. Good insight here from the Titans' second-year corner about the differences playing under Chris Harris versus Anthony Midget in the previous regime in that defensive backs room.
Just because he been in the league, so he kind of know how we feel. It's just that energy. Like, he telling us he know it's going to be hard. He know we're going to make mistakes. So just having a coach who can, like, relate to you, know, like, how it goes. Like, you know, the game is not easy at all. So it's just him having that energy and just telling us how the game going and everything. I feel like that just make us feel more comfortable. I feel like they won't have to think too much. We can relax. And I feel like that's great because we really need that.
Is that different this year for you too, just not having to think as much?
I mean, yeah, that because off experience too. I feel like I don't have to think too much because I've been in that like fire. I've been through all those situations. So I feel like this year I just gotta focus on my technique and everything will be good.
Windsock for my thing. Sorry, guys. I'll get that. But the wind just picked up out of nowhere out
Yeah.
there.
I was telling Robert earlier, it always sounds different when you hear it on the air than it does on a phone, too.
Right?
Because the quality is so different. But from
Airplanes, air conditioners, helicopters, all of
Mowers.
that. Mowers.
mower is the big one because they mow right after practice as Vrabel is speaking every single day. But the insight from Rogers is good there, and it seems like that's the theme of the offseason is that Keith Carter and Anthony Midget have been replaced by guys that are a bit less of disciplinarians and perhaps a little more relaxed. We'll see if it works. Hard for us to say whether or not that coaching style is more successful than the previous one. Titans have had a lot of success under that coaching style under Mike Vrabel, but a different way of thinking, it feels like, in a lot of those assistant coaches this season.
I think so. And Chris Harris, like I said, that's been the theme when you talk to any of those cornerbacks, any of those safeties, is they'll bring his name up. And that's always a good sign, right? Kind of like when Kerry Combs was here, there was like a different type of energy in that room. They just kind of respected Kerry, and it was vice versa, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it seems with Chris Harris. And that's really crucial with the development still of some of these younger guys.
Coming up, more NFL headlines around the league. Why Anthony Richardson won't be practicing in Indianapolis today. He's going to be joining movie stars and singers with one procedure. Coming up next at halftime of the show on About K Little Well.
It's Kayla and Ramon with Window Nation, and talking about having a procedure done. Why don't you have your windows done? How about that? Look at that transition.
That was a good
Bada boom, bada bing. No, but in all seriousness, it is hot out there right now. The humidity is up to another level. Those sweaty temps has you forcing your AC into overdrive. And that means, guess what? Your energy bills are also going to go into overdrive. So we all want to have a way to fix that, right? So this is the solution. New windows from our friends at Window Nation. You can save thousands today with no money down, no payments, and no interest for 2 full years. Plus, on top of it, why not give you a bonus this time of year? Every 2 windows that you buy, you're going to get 2 for free. So protect, increase the value of your home today. Have that procedure done, and don't even feel bad about it. Check them out at windownation.com.
No doubt about it. And as Kayla just told you, easily save up to 30% on your energy bills too. And the best part about Window Nation's windows is what they do. They install nearly 2 million windows with 96% perfection, making them one of the top window companies in the country. Okay, the average installer has over 16 years of experience with over 20,000 windows installed themselves. All right, this is the best move you can make if you're trying to save some coin here and there in your windows. Okay, call 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
8 o'clock on the dot. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Some nuggets from over the weekend in the NFL. We'll start in Indianapolis as the Colts running back Jonathan Taylor requests a trade, and owner Jim Irsay says no. The Colts are contemplating placing Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list due to a back injury he suffered away from the team. If put on the list, Taylor would not be paid for his 2023 season, and his contract would roll over to 2024. Jonathan Taylor has disputed the concerns on back issues. Rams running back Sony Michel has retired over the weekend. Sony played 5 years in the NFL, starting 35 of 65 games and rushed for 3,243 yards and added 18 more touchdowns on the ground over that time. In Seattle, head coach Pete Carroll told reporters that rookie running back Zach Charbonnet has a shoulder injury and is out indefinitely. Meanwhile, the other side of that running back room, Kenneth Walker III, also has a groin injury and could be out a while. In Minnesota, the Vikings agreed to terms with Danielle Hunter on a new one-year deal worth up to $20 million. Hunter also gets 17 fully guaranteed, plus no franchise or transition tag, so he will hit the open market in 2024. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 Zone.
Second half of the show already on a Monday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And it's powered, as always, by our friends at All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up in 20 minutes, Bryant McFadden of CBS Sports gives us when training camp evaluations begin. When a positive trend becomes an excellent storyline in camp, or when maybe a player having a rough start becomes a concern. B-Mac always makes us smarter, and he'll join us coming up at 8:20. 615-737-1045 is our number. And if you're going in for a nose job over the next 24 hours, maybe you'll see the quarterback of the Colts there. The report this morning from the Colts, who tell us that Anthony Richardson will miss practice because he's getting a nose job. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have that on my bingo card today. Well,
I'll be honest. I would have been less surprised if you had told me Buck Rising was going to miss Titans training camp today because
Yes.
he's getting a nose job than if Anthony Richardson was getting a nose job.
Yes.
and you know what? For health reasons, he probably needed it clearly for him to have that
The
procedure.
septum.
And good on the Colts for recognizing that he needed this
But
to
why
happen
now?
also. Because what other time you going to have, Kayla?
I mean, the off season.
I don't. Maybe it was something. Maybe he went through a sleep study situation. That's probably what it
Really?
was too. No, seriously, probably could be a
Yeah.
sleep study.
Okay.
Could be
that, hey,
something that maybe comes up in your physical at the beginning of camp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I laugh and joke about it because this is my thing. Colts, y'all don't have to report injuries right now. You don't have to say why a player is or is not
actually
practicing right now. And that's why I kind of laughed at it. It's like, oh, this is the big cover-up? You're trying to stop the Irsay news from getting out even more? Like, we're not going to not talk about Jim Irsay. So you putting out that your quarterback had a nose procedure, this isn't the cover-up you thought we were going to take.
I think this is just the Colts trying to be relevant now that they're not getting the national attention like they do always leading into the season, at least from the AFC South side of things. So they're like, yeah, we're just going to put all this stuff out here. I know that's not really, I'm joking, but
Makes me
it's
want to talk
kinda
more
funny.
about Irsay. It's like,
kind of funny.
what are you
Well,
doing?
in all seriousness, Anthony Richardson, it says, had a procedure yesterday to correct his nasal septum. He will miss practice today, and depending on how he feels, the Colts tweet that they expect him to return tomorrow.
I will say that stuff messes with you.
Yes, it does.
Because my dad, and I don't want to say anything mean about my dad, but my
Jerry
dad,
Jones?
my dad,
At
y'all,
least it's not your mom.
it has got an anger issue. That guy gets so ill. Like, even the littlest things. Like, he's a landscaper by trade. So if he sees you mowing and you missed a strip of grass He's going to be ill about it. And it's because he got in so many fights when he was a young kid. He's had his nose broke so many times that his septum is messed up. He can't sleep. You can hear the dude outside the house snoring. So when him and his brother were little kids, they used to have those hippity hops, like the little things you'd bounce on. You know what I'm talking about? You'd sit on them.
Hippity hops?
Well, that's what they're called. That's the only thing I know that broke my daddy's nose because his brother slung them so hard at him it broke his nose. So if anybody has a chance to fix your septum, I've been trying to get my dad to go get his fixed for so long so he can finally breathe. But I will say, if you're going to miss practice, it might as well be for a good reason.
Remember the movie Me, Myself, and Irene with Jim Carrey? We had the different personalities. Mm-hmm. And he got his nose job done. His nose was whistling.
Oh, yeah.
That is what I kind of hope happens for a little bit, just so I can have a joke around there.
You have to, like, change your sleep habits, though, when you have this done. Because, like, you have to start sleeping with a mask. Like, after this happened. Like, this is not something I think that's going to just be, like, a quick...
Well, no.
Like, fix one thing for Anthony Richardson and he'll be back. Like, there's some steps to that process.
Well, and what is he wearing in practice? Because that's the other thing. He better not be getting hit. Because if he's planning on being back this quick, good Lord.
Yeah, behind that offensive line, I mean, who's to say?
Dude better be looking like Phantom of the Opera with that mask.
Gardner Minshew stock has never been higher.
Yeah.
What an Indianapolis Colts jersey.
Babe, nobody cared until I put the mask on.
You merely adopted the darkness. I was born in
My septum has been terrible for years.
Our resident Colts fan in the F&M Bank chat, Zach, just simply typed at us, texted us, hard times, y'all. Hard times, I tell you.
The laughing stock of the NFL up in Indianapolis
Hard
right now.
knock life, baby.
They're going to make sure he looks like little Michael, man.
I can't wait to hear Jim Irsay talking to the media. He's going to be fine. We're going to win many games with Anthony and his new nose. In Indianapolis, everyone knows that he'll be the best rookie quarterback in the league.
Something smells around Indianapolis.
At least he's doing better things with his nose than Irsay is.
Stop it! Yeah, we got to go to break. That was
Is
good.
this Cardi Kalo?
Kayla Anderson, ladies and gentlemen.
What the hell? Between her right now and Babsy texting me with Bert with a bunch of smiley faces and a nose at the end, you've gotten on Babsy's good side, Bert. You should say something.
That is hilarious.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
a good thing because I was on Babsy's bad side at the bowling event.
Oh.
Every time, every time she would bowl, I would go like, and she would like turn around and look for it, and I would point out like one of the interns. I'd be like, "No, it was that. It was one of the richest promotion kids." And she was like, "I know it
That
was
was
you."
CJ. That's it. CJ, quit
There
yelling.
it is.
Now
Hey, CJ, leave Don alone.
Now
Becky
she
Bob.
knows it's me.
Yeah, but
She knows.
You're on.
Yes.
She knows.
How many times can we work the word
On the
nose into
nose,
this segment?
Hey, you know what? I was about to tempt it. I said, stop.
Nobody
Mom.
knows how many times we can say that. I don't know.
You don't know what to do on this one.
You're being a
okay?
little too noisy over there.
You said you were going to wear nose at training camp.
I would wear a clown nose under my helmet for the warm-ups is what I would do. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes don't tell all your information, Jim Irsay. This isn't the cover-up you thought that it was going to be. Hey, our quarterback had a nose procedure. Let's not talk about how you dogged out your running back. Like, what I get, kids are mean, and so are NFL players because we're kids too, okay? I would wear clown noses. I would switch them out and wear a blue one. I'd put his face on one of them. Like, it would be all these mic covers that we have in here.
Sure.
I would have a different nose for Anthony Richardson and the Colts. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Like,
That would work.
people are mean, and I would run with that. I would be a mean guy on that one, is what I'm telling you. I'd wear a nose.
So would I.
I'd wear a nose. I'd wear the Humpty Dumpty nose. My name is Humpty. I would wear that nose right
nose with
there.
the-
You remember that
What
one?
are you? What?
Oh, Will.
I just knew Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
You got
That's all I
George Strait at here.
it, baby.
He
Is
pulled
that by
Do the Humpty.
Is that by Kanye West?
No.
It is. We'll bump back with it
Wait,
at the
yes.
45.
Yes.
Can we go to break already, please?
I do the hump.
This is how
the
I
hump.
feel when you think like a recent country song was George Strait.
Well, he was in
We
town.
live in Nashville. I guarantee you, whatever singer or rapper you're talking about is not from Nashville.
Zach
No.
in the F&M Bank chat said, tell him it was J. Cole.
No, I know all of J. Cole's songs. I'm good on him. I've got his catalog down.
Yeah. Ah, my gosh. That's a good one, man. That was a real good one.
Okay.
I can't believe they put out the nose surgery, man.
That's insane.
Sometimes you just got to nose better.
Why are you the way that you are?
my
Leave the
gosh.
joke. Leave the bad jokes to me. I know you're the one that's a dad here.
Wasn't good.
Yet I do the dad jokes
Yeah.
better than you do.
I wasn't a good one right there.
It was not a good one.
I wasn't.
I expect better from you.
You know what?
I really do. That might be do it.
I'm done with this show. Okay?
See ya.
I'm over this.
See you in a few hours.
I see y'all, man.
We got our lunch
I'm
today.
outta
Don't
here.
forget.
Golly.
615-737-1045. The Titans will be back on the practice field today.
Oh, yeah.
The Mike
done
Rising Show
early?
is
All
coming up
right.
next. He's not on time at 10 o'clock, so how would we expect him to be on time at 8:10?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Oh, my God. That was good.
Gosh, that
man.
song literally sounds like, oh, what else am I going to do?
I know,
today?
right?
I'm going through
It
my
really
routine of like,
does.
all right, am I going to go work out?
What train?
What do I have for lunch? What's in the fridge?
It's that Pavlov response. As soon as you hear that, you're like, oh, man, I can't wait to cut some audio and take a nap.
Yeah.
Or like in the office when Jim trained Dwight.
Midway?
He meant Dwight every time he would. What
Every
was
time
he
the
doing?
computer turns on, you
He would give him a mint.
would hand
Every time the
hold out his
computer went
hand.
on.
Yeah.
And he trained him so well that he did it one day, and Dwight put his hand out for a mint.
Like
And he was
a
like,
dog.
"What are you
Didn't give him
doing?
some.
Like a dog.
What are you doing?" That's what we got going
He was in
on.
mint condition.
There we go.
See, that was better.
Is it a Monday? I can tell.
That was the icebreaker of the conversation.
I swear, if you do this one more time, we're gonna wrestle in the parking lot, okay, next to the dumpster.
That would not end very well for me. Well,
There is a
can we run
dumpster.
a
You
mile
can just
instead?
throw somebody off the side
Yeah,
and
but
then fall into the dumpster.
Don't give him
I
ideas.
we could. You know what? Thank you, Kayla.
If you bring up the Pac-12, I will do that.
That is true.
Somebody was making fun of your conference.
Nope.
They were.
I will not handle
I
it.
gotta say,
You mean all of Twitter?
I will literally. There's a difference
All of the
between
internet is
making
making fun of the
fun
Pac-12.
of making fun of the Pac-12 and the people who drove it to its non-existence. There's a difference.
somebody said couldn't be my conference.
Well, I mean, it sucks.
Was
Don't
that
get me
somebody,
started.
Ronald Sylvester Slay? Or what?
It was our resident Colts fan. He really has no
No,
grounds to
you're
joke.
you're done with that.
That wasn't a good one either, Kayla.
Jordan in the
No,
F&M
it
Bank
was
chat,
good.
to quickly change the subject before we all get thrown into dumpsters, says, when does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent.
Oh, boom!
Coming up next, Bryant McFadden joins us
good.
here on RKW.
I'm here for it.
The latest around the NFL
here
and his
for
thoughts
it.
on how much of a threat the Titans have become by adding DeAndre
great.
Hopkins. B-Mac on the other side here on RKW.
Hey, I am joined now by certified arborist Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art Tree and Shrub, offering the finest when it comes to everything when it comes to your trees and shrubs. But you're also hiring right now, Dean. Tell us how people can get involved if they're interested in joining your great company.
Hey there, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's a gorgeous day out here in Middle Tennessee. You can just pick up the phone, call 615-299-9999. Super easy number. Anything for trees and shrubs around your home, we can help you with it, where there's diagnosis or maintenance or removals, whatever you want, we can do it. Plant health care as well. As far as the hiring goes, we're looking for truck drivers. We're looking for climbers. We're looking for groundies. If you've never done tree work or tree and shrub care and you're interested and you want to learn more ornamental pruning, we are the people to come to. We can help you. We have a competitive benefit program along with competitive pay, a great culture. So, if you're at a dead-end job, like I keep saying, we're just going to keep pounding this. We want you over here with us. We got a great culture. Come check us out, 615-299-9999. Y'all have a great week.
Hey, Dean's bringing the energy this morning, and I'm loving it. And you can join his team with all that energy to almost 30 years of experience. That's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub for exceptional service every time. Call 299-9999 or just log online to arborart.net.
Monday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling. Robert Walsh behind the glass as we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. We're joined now by Bryant McFadden, our good friend from CBS Sports. What's up, B-Mac? How are you?
What's up, everybody? How everybody's doing?
We're good.
B-Mac, you want me to ask Will whose instrumental is that real quick?
Let's do it.
Who is it, Will?
I'd rather y'all answer, to be honest. To be totally honest with you.
Young Jeezy.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
Hey, I appreciate you guys remembering my request for my last opportunity of appearing with you guys for my team, my walk-up music.
That's right.
That's right.
make you feel good. Don't
I should know
B-Mac?
better. That's on me.
I
B-Mac,
appreciate it.
as we begin training camps around the NFL, when, in your opinion, are things concerning or things big positives? Is it a week? Is it the first preseason game? At what point for you do evaluations kind of begin when camps start?
The first 2 weeks are very, very important. You know, especially when you get into the first preseason game. Evaluations pretty much started, in the off season when you talk about OTAs and mini camps. I'm pretty sure Ramon would agree with me with that. But training camp is more about evaluating who can actually contribute to some degree to the team. Not necessarily just saying with, the active roster, but also with practice squad guys as well, because they are major contributors to the success for every team because they have to give the best look week in and week out for the starters to be prepared to do what they're supposed to do on Sundays. So every week is important, but me personally, outside of the evaluating the guys, you want to dodge the injury bug. That's the thing. Every week, you want to go ahead and get out of every week with everybody healthy because that can really detour your season before the season actually starts if you start losing major guys throughout training camp.
No doubt, B-Mac. And we were talking off air about coaches evolving a little bit. And you speak about the injury. Christian Fulton's kind of dealt with that a little bit. And Vrabel called him out this offseason. He come back right. You know what I'm saying? He has been a highlight this camp so far, man. But I know you were in on Coach Tomlin when he came to Pittsburgh. And all I heard from you guys when I first got there was like the first couple of years of his was hell. Like coaches evolving and understanding their players. Man, how big is that for Vrabel to be at this spot now and also see a guy like Christian Fulton eat those words that Vrabel had and kind of give them back to him this offseason?
It's huge because you talk about one of the more experienced coaches in the National Football League. That's Vrabel, not to mention he was a player as well. So he sees it from two different sets of lenses. And it's great because his leadership skills in regards to him calling out Christian Fulton, it didn't really affect their relationship, but because of the respect that Christian Fulton has for Vrabel, he decides to go ahead and make Vrabel eat those words that he gave him throughout the offseason. So that's a great sign in regards to the leadership abilities that Vrabel has and the respect that he has over his players. Because, sometimes when coaches call out players, instead of that player taking it and using that as motivation, he feels some type of way. He's in his feelings. And now the relationship is not as stable as it once was because he might not respect the coach or he might not respect the things the coach said to him. In this situation, all he did was light a fire under Christian Fulton. Now, for Christian, can you sustain this level of production? Because they need him to do so because he's the best corner in the team.
Mac, man, when it comes down, Bryant McFadden with us this morning. I'm just calling you Mac like everybody know you as B-Mac or Mac out here, man. My bad. But
No. The only person to call me Brian is my children and my mom. I'm sorry. My children call me Dad, but my mom call me Brian. Everybody else call me Mac. B-Mac.
Either way, I'm neither one of those people, okay? So with that being said, though, B-Mac, when you look at how a team is constructed, right, you go out and get a guy like D-Hop, man. It just brings a different set of eyes to what you are as a team. What can a guy like him who's been practicing and look just as smooth as his rookie year, man, do for this team?
Provides leadership.
Yeah.
Provides another element of respect on the roster. D-Hop is a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think so. I think he commands that respect as well. And I think it's great for the Tennessee Titans, especially offensively, when it comes to the pass catcher position because they don't have any experience. So with D-Hop coming into a young room, being able to not necessarily speak on what he's seen in Tennessee, but speak on what he's seen throughout his professional career, those guys are going to listen.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, most of those wide receivers in that wide receiver room for the Tennessee Titans, they're either fans of D-Hop currently, or they were fans of D-Hop. And either situation, that's ideal for them because they walk into a room and say, man, listen, we want to know what you did here. How did you become the guy that you are, regardless of who's throwing you passes?
Right.
So that's great. I remember we talked about this over a month ago in regards to the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. They seem to be like the two ideal destinations for D-Hop, and you guys asked me which is better. I mean, who needs who the most? I said New England, they don't need him, but they could use him.
Right.
I said Tennessee needs him because it's Treylon Burks and then whoever. And also, too, you look at getting a guy like D-Hop. I'm hearing Treylon Burks been looking real good.
Yep.
Yes.
Compared to a year ago. That's great. He came in better shape. He came in more polished. You can tell he's motivated. So now if you factor in where the wide receiver room was in the month of June compared to where it is now, along with the guys, seeing the guys on the grass, you have to be optimistic and more excited about what this wide receiver unit can do compared to what we thought they could do months ago before getting D-Hop.
And it's interesting, too, because I know DeAndre Hopkins has been very vocal, if you want to call it, on Twitter and on social media. And he has been tweeting out a lot of pictures or training camp video. And he posted this one picture of Christian Fulton going up against him and saying iron sharpens iron. And just curious of just in that DB room, probably how great it is to have somebody like that now to be going up against every day in practice.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron, good on good for Christian Fulton, a guy who understands the game, and I believe, in my opinion, he's been watching D-Hop throughout his LSU career, even high school career, right? So now you get a chance to go against a guy who you've seen do numbers against any defender, and you get a chance to see him every day. And most importantly, it's not just about the practice reps; it's about having an opportunity to talk to D-Hop. Which corners gave you the most issues? What provided an element of concern for you at bump and run coverage, off technique? You know what I mean? So now you get a chance to sit down and talk to a guy who I believe will go into the Hall of Fame, who can actually help elevate your career and what you do. So adding D-Hop is not necessarily a benefit to just the offensive side of things. I think it's a benefit to the defensive side of things as well, because a lot of those guys on the defensive side are young players, you know what I mean, who started to implement their footprint into this league, and D-Hop has already done that. So that's the key to success, in my opinion, in regards to sound, winning structure. Bring guys who've done it and done so in an individual way that actually can sprinkle throughout your entire locker room, because those guys, I'm willing to bet, they talk to D-Hop every day. All the wide receivers, some of the guys in the second day, about things that he's done well, things that has really caused some issues, and it's a learning experience every day they're on the grass or in the or in the classroom.
You look at the AFC South now, and I think I'm not going to say one piece makes a difference in terms of how they're now going to compete in the AFC South, but it does seem to have an effect on now, how they can possibly win the AFC South if everybody, for the most part, can stay healthy. They don't lose bodies like they did the last 2 years. But do you feel like, honestly, this piece, adding DeAndre Hopkins, can put them right up there with competing with Jacksonville right now, who seems to be the division favorite in the AFC South?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's safe to say right now, Tennessee is the closest team to second in the picking order behind Jacksonville. Now, the thing that I like about Tennessee, their defense.
Yeah.
Their defense, over the last few years, they've been getting after people. Jacksonville, a year ago, their defense was kind of the Achilles heel. They did a great job in rushing the passer. Even though they got name recognition that's supposed to provide that production, we didn't really see that. Tennessee's going to get after you, either based on the scheme or just individuals whooping the man in front of them. Offensively, that's where Jacksonville has a nice gap of separation between the rest of the division. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Agent Zero, and Calvin Ridley. Oh, my goodness, right? So I think it's now I know I'm in you guys are in Tennessee. a lot of Titans fans are listening to me right now, but let's keep it real. Right now, if you had to pick a team to win the AFC South, the consensus unbiasedly answering that question probably would say Jacksonville. Now, can Tennessee make some noise? Yes, because they've done so before. But everything has to work week in and week out, and we got to see Ryan Tannehill show up. That I think that's the biggest difference in regards to those two organizations, Jacksonville and Tennessee. I think we all have more trust in Trevor Lawrence than Ryan Tannehill. But I'm answering this question on the 31st of July.
Yeah.
A lot can change between now, September, October, November. But to answer your question right now, yes, Tennessee's the next best team in the division, and a lot of it has to do with what they can get with their quarterback and D-Hop and just the overall talent element. I think right now, offensively, Jacksonville has way more talent than Tennessee.
Bryant McFadden, CBS Sports, our guest this morning here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. B-Mac, now that Dan Snyder no longer owns an NFL team, is Jim Irsay now the owner that we're going to point to as just the laughing stock of NFL owners? What in the world is he doing by going after really the only superstar skill player that Indy has left over the weekend?
Jim Irsay is a man who has a lot of money. With money, he has a lot of power. And with that, he doesn't mind displaying that. Mm-hmm. I feel like he should have kept the things that he said publicly in-house in regards to the Jonathan Taylor situation with the Colts. We didn't need to know all of that. All we knew was they had a meeting on Jim Irsay's bus, right? And we knew that meeting had something to do with a contract extension for JT. But we didn't have to know exactly what he said to JT. And I felt like that's what is really hurting the relationship. Things could probably be ironed out easier, but now with him making everything public and then coming out and just basically saying, I'm not going to pay him and he has to play for us. I mean, now your player is disgruntled. But also, too, I say this, Jonathan Taylor has no leverage. He has no leverage. Mm-hmm. Think about all the running backs that are available right now who are cheaper than Jonathan Taylor. They might not be the same player, but heck, they can still go in and give you production at a lesser rate, lesser cost. They're still available. So for Jonathan Taylor and this agent, they say they want $16 million per year. Nobody is giving you that. No one is giving you $16 million per year. We see that already with the running back market, and no one is going to give up picks to overpay for a guy also. So for Jonathan Taylor, two things happen. Either you just play this year out, and hopefully they give you a contract extension after your fourth year, or you just sit down and not play. But Jim Irsay stated he is not paying him right now. And I believe Jim Irsay because he put it on paper. He put it out there for all of us to talk about. It's a tough situation to be in because, for the Tennessee Titans, you can care less. You really don't want to see JT out there. You know what I mean? Because he makes that offense better. But it's a tough situation to be in. And Jim Irsay is going to say whatever he wants to say, and he's going to do so in a way that he wants it to be felt.
P-Mac, was Sean Payton out of line last week in his comments about Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, or was this fair game in order to give confidence to his new quarterback and Russell Wilson?
He was out of line in regards to the respect of the game and sportsmanship for your peers, coaches. He was out of line. But in all honesty, I like it. I like it. Because how many times we hear these anonymous quotes coming from a coach in regards to a player or from an exec in regards to a player? They do it all the time. I hate it. If you have the guts to say something about a player, put your name on it. Sean Payton had a moment where he felt like he was still an analyst, not a coach. He put his name on it, and he stood by it. Now, he kind of recanted a little bit, but he put his name on it. We know exactly who said it. And get this. They actually play each other this year. You think about that. It'd be one thing if he said this about Nathaniel Hackett. They don't see each other. This team won't see Nathaniel Hackett's offense and vice versa. But they do in Denver week 5. So I'm okay. He was a little out of line because we don't usually see this. But, heck, man, the NFL is here, man. It's only one team you should be cheering for. Everybody else to hell with him. And that's how Sean Payton felt. Now, the reasons and why he said what he said, I feel like it was kind of to cover up some of the mistakes or the lack of production from Russell Wilson.
Yes.
But he said it. He put a name on it, and they will face off on against each other. So, yes, he was out of line, but I love it. This is football. This is where another man takes the role from another man. And you can't do that with a polite attitude. You have to feel some type of way. And luckily enough for all of us as analysts and being a part of the media, Sean Payton feels some type of way right now towards what happened with Nathaniel Hackett. And I can't wait to see those two teams face off in Week 5. And you saw Aaron Rodgers. So now Aaron Rodgers is fired up as well. Yes. So he was out of line. But listen, man, trash talk happens all the time, Ramon. You know that in the line. A lot of people probably saying some nasty stuff to you. But hey, we got you to see it from coaches now, and I like it.
B-Mac, I'm smiling ear for ear on this whole debate. Like this soap opera of what the Broncos and Jets got going on. Speaking of which, Hard Knocks may actually be interesting.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers looked like he wants to play football again, man. What do you expect from this team? Is it too much too soon? They got a lot of skill, but what are we thinking about the Aaron Rodgers experience in New York?
Man, I think I'll say this. It's going to be way better than any other experience they had because they finally have a quarterback. Okay. That's number one. Now, the expectations for me, the bare minimum is playoffs.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum. Because when you talk about the success the defense had a year ago, with no consistent quarterback play, and they still was in the playoff hunt, that's a plus. But now that you have Aaron Rodgers and that defense still should be, a well-dominant unit, and having Aaron Rodgers, bare minimum, is the playoffs. And now anything else after that, you're going to take it and run with it, in my opinion. But the bare minimum to me is the playoffs because we all know one thing about NFL playoffs. Once you get into the tournament, anything can happen.
Yeah, facts.
Bryant McFadden, CBS Sports, bringing it as always with us here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. B-Mac, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
Bryant McFadden with us on the Marks Payne Real Estate Hotline as we finish up hour number 3 coming up next with the audio of Aaron Rodgers' response to Sean Payton and why it sounds a little bit like Will Smith. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It's Ramon Foster here to tell you about Zen Sports, the new sports betting app in Tennessee, revolutionizing sports betting rewards. Yes, the rewards that they have. What if I told you that you're wasting time and your money betting on any other sports book that's not Zen Sports? Zen Sports offer real cash rewards for those lucky enough to be in Tennessee. And that means no funny money, points, or credits, just cash. For a welcome bonus, you can earn 5% cash back on every bet you place for the first 15 days with no limit on your bonus when you use a referral bonus code and earn up to 3% cash back on your bets after that with Zen Sports Loyalty Program. So make the switch today and start betting on Zen Sports. Your wallet will thank you later. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet.
Monday morning continues on remote. Kayla and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, as the Titans hit the practice field within the hour. And we take your phone calls at 615-737-1045. We've got Aaron Rodgers clapping back at Sean Payton. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm with Bryant McFadden. I love this.
I do too.
Me too.
Because Sean Payton is doing his job by giving his quarterback as much confidence as he can before he's taken a snap under his new system.
Yep.
And I think detaching the failures of the Denver Broncos away from Russell Wilson and attributing them to Nathaniel Hackett is a smart way to do that before camp really starts for these guys. This was Aaron Rodgers, though, over the weekend with NFL Network, basically saying, like Will Smith, keep his name out your mouth.
I'm not going to ask you about Sean Payton's comments directly, but I will ask you to maybe address Nathaniel Hackett as a coach and what he means to you and what he can bring to this Jets team. That story goes out there. I had about 1 million texts from people in the coaching community saying that was out of line. Yet you see Hackett out here, he's still pumped up. I don't think it affects him as much as maybe it affects everyone on the outside, and yet you and him have this great bond and union together where you've always had his back, he's always had yours.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach. My love for Hack goes deep. You know, we had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, you know, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
So there's Aaron Rodgers over the weekend responding to Sean Payton's comments last week that you can't blame Russell Wilson for the failures Denver had last season because, well, they led the league in pre-snap penalties and they had coaches, paraphrasing, essentially didn't know what they were doing.
And plus, nobody was yelling run or pass to start the year either. So how the hell would the defense know what the offense was doing on the field? Come on, guys. We got to be a team here. Run or pass. Let them know.
I think it's fair from Sean Payton, and I also think it's fair from Aaron Rodgers. I think you can agree that each side is in the right with what they are trying to achieve here, which is motivating their own people to be better this season than they were last.
I'm with you. I don't have a problem with what Sean Payton had to say. I don't. Again, especially with the dumpster fire he had to inherit. One, he's also giving himself a little bit of a crease to kind of have some flaws and setbacks depending on how good or bad this team is. If he makes his teams drastically better, he gets all the praise. If they're still bad this year, guess what? Well, look what he left me with. So he has that, but he also instilled, like you said, that confidence in his franchise quarterback to be like, Russ, team, I got y'all. Just listen to what I got and watch what I do publicly so you guys believe in me even more.
Well, that's what I think a majority of it was.
Yeah.
I have no problem with what he does just because I'm here for the tea. But I think it was more so a motivation of we believe in you, Russell Wilson, because we pretty much have to. Like, you have to have a big year. Yeah. He's not going to go on there and be like, yeah, Russell Wilson was awful last year.
Right.
He was a big reason and a big disappointment of, you know, why we didn't find success. Now, it wasn't all on Russell Wilson, and that's why it left the door open to kind of put Nathaniel Hackett as a target on there. But I think he used it a bit as a motivational tactic.
Yeah.
Of we believe in Russell Wilson. It was maybe this guy's fault.
Publicly, too.
Yeah.
Never seen
but
coaches
I'm here for it.
Step out of line like this.
Man, I'm here for it.
Brian McFadden's right, too. If you're going to have that opinion, stand on it and put your name on it. 100%.
It's the best thing that's going on right now.
Over the weekend, too, the Eagles are going back to their classic Kelly greens from the early 90s as their alternate uniforms this season. So they go on sale today. And ESPN's Adam Schefter reports this morning that fans have been tailgating since 3:30 this morning to buy the Kelly Green jerseys.
Serious?
Yes.
Oh.
It's different there.
It's like Swifties tailgating for Taylor Swift merch that opens in front of the stadium when Taylor Swift plays there that week. Legitimately the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Eagles fans are the Taylor Swift fans of the NFL. Changed my mind.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I just hope these people are buying them to wear and not buying them to resell, because there's true fans out there that want them and it's going to be sold out. That's just me hating the resale market as it is these days, though. I get it. It's America. It's what you have that choice.
I could see Philly fans also burning those jerseys if they lose in them, just because that's the Philly way.
Like when Taylor dates a guy that the Swifties don't like. There you go.
There it is.
They burn their T-shirts.
So many similarities between those two.
Listen, y'all pair that up like that.
Look, when you see an Eagles fan, all I know is you're saying, I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
Yes.
When an Eagles fan joins you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that from
And
a
then,
song?
It's a song.
Yeah, when you get in a fight with them, sparks fly.
Yeah.
But then after you beat the Eagles, it's a love story, and baby, just say yes.
And you got to just shake it off.
I hate y'all.
The funniest thing about this, though, guys, is that Ramon doesn't know these are songs. And so you just think we're having a kind of a weird conversation.
I felt like Michael from The Office. It's like, I want in on the job. What does he say?
Love
Gossip.
inside jokes.
Like the
Want to be a part of one someday.
Yeah.
Give me
That's
some
what
of
it
that
says.
tea.
Gosh, give me some of that tea, man.
It's been a cruel summer for you, dude.
There it is.
You know what? That's my time, people. I'm
Here he
outta
goes
here.
again. And show outro.
Well, which is tough. Now we have a blank space on the show.
Look at you,
Ramon,
Bert.
be careful, because if you're mean to us, Karma is your boyfriend.
No, don't leave, Ramon. You belong with me. Come on. Don't blame me.
Okay, this is what we do. I can't wait till we have rap day on this show. I can't wait till we have rap and R&B day on
People
this
think
show.
we were a clown show last week. What? Look at me now. That wasn't a Taylor Swift lyric. That was just saying something in general.
I thought
Look
that was
at me
actual
now.
Drake lyric
at
right
me
there.
now.
Know it all too well.
Yeah, because baby, now we've got bad blood if you think we're a clown show. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Fourth and final hour on deck. And there's one rookie undrafted player who's been gaining a lot of praise over the past couple of days. We mentioned his name earlier, but this is another guy that I want to watch closely this week as pads go on and the energy takes a tick up at Titans training camp. The clown show goes on for 60 more minutes. Grab your red noses. Coming up on 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon from My PhD Weight Loss. I'm here to tell you guys that this is something that I was thinking about for a while last fall. I had to figure out a way to get on track, get a plan. A lot of the time with us, just in life in general, whether you're trying to gain weight, if you're trying to hit the gym or lose weight like I was, you got to have a plan. You got to have support system behind them. So I tell you guys about my coach, Rachel, all the time. She's good. We had a talk last Thursday. I was like, I'm going out of town. I was like, going to Arizona. It'd be nice and relaxing. She's like, well, let's make sure we're catering more to these types of things and not those types of things. And you know what? It was a good time. And Rachel's going to be very proud of me this week because it works. They will work with you as far as what your goals are as far as losing weight. On average, most male clients lose between 3 to 5 pounds a week, and female clients lose between 2 to 3 pounds a week also. But it's not something that's going to be stressful to you. It's going to be something that you feel okay with doing and watching your body change, watching all things surrounding your lifestyle change, and the people around you noticing it too. So if you've been thinking about losing weight, just getting your life back together, changing your appearance, visit My PhD Weight Loss and talk to the folks that I talk to and trust too. Again, My PhD Weight Loss, and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
What's going on? Just about 9 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Some updates from over the weekend in the NFL. We'll start in Indianapolis as the Colts running back Jonathan Taylor requests a trade, and owner Jim Irsay says, how about no? The Colts are contemplating placing Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list due to a back injury he suffered away from the team. That means if Taylor did not play this season, his contract would toll over to 2024. They would not have to pay him anything in 2023. Jonathan Taylor is disputing the back pain issues. In other news in Miami, Dolphins signed cornerback Eli Apple in the wake of Jalen Ramsey's injury that knocked him out until the end of the season. He started games in the regular season and the postseason for the Bengals last year. In Seattle, head coach Pete Carroll says that rookie running back Zach Charbonnet has a shoulder injury and is out indefinitely. Also in that running back room, Kenneth Walker is dealing with a groin injury and could be out a while. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes on for 60 more minutes on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Alongside our 11-year NFL veteran, Ramon Foster, our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the most interesting producer in the world, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Our phone number is 615-737-1045. And within the hour, the Titans get back on the field in pads. That's right. The sounds of football will accompany the sweat, the heat, everything in between. We'll have pads popping this morning.
Oh, my God.
I know. Oh, my God.
Football is back.
What was it like the first day that you knew you were getting into pads?
Antsy, nervous. Always had butterflies first day of
Really?
pads. Always. It never changed. From the time it got more serious in high school, all the way through college, all the way through the NFL. Didn't matter, Kayla.
Just because you knew it was going to turn up.
It's the true test of like sport in a sense. Like the physicality of football, no disrespect to any other sport. I know everything has this hard, avenue or street you got to navigate, but the physicality of football is where it really takes you over the edge. So I was always nervous. Wrist brace were always tighter. Wrist rockets were always tighter. Made sure I was taped up, spatted up, and just hyped up. That's the recipe.
How much more do we learn on the front seven for defense and the offensive line starting this week?
You will learn a lot because this is where the big boys come to play. Coach, we hear Coach Mack say it all the time. Look, we're playing football in the shorts. No, we're not there anymore. Right. And truthfully, as much as we bragged about Arden and everything that he's done too, seeing what he's going to look like with pads on, it's easy to run past somebody when you don't have to hit them or you don't have to worry about somebody cleaning you up. We will learn a lot. And I say this, especially with the tackles on this team too. We're going to learn if there will actually fight. Like, not actually, like, punch and all those types of things. But, like, if you get beat in a rep, run that back. Come on, let's go. Run it back. Like, those have to be the sounds we hear on a day like today when it comes down to what pads mean for the bigs. DeAndre, we know what he is. Heck, we know what Derek is, too. Derek going to get hit, but he ain't going to get hit to the ground. He bet not, at least. And just watching Tannehill and the quarterbacks be more precise about how they deliver balls, too. Them going across the middle, you're going to get a shoulder pad check now, and it actually means a little bit more. There's a lot.
And we'll get more into that after the break as well, talking about specifically Andre Dillard and Arden Key and how much of Andre Dillard's struggles so far in camp are because Arden Key has been good or has Dillard just not been great? so far. So that we'll continue that conversation as the morning goes on. But Kayla, I wanted to ask you about this undrafted guy who is receiving a lot of praise. We mentioned him earlier in the show, but former Oregon State wide receiver Trayshawn Harrison, who made a couple of catches in one-on-ones over the weekend, had a great catch on a Will Levis pass as well. Has he been the most impressive undrafted guy to you so far?
I think definitely one of them. Yeah. Especially you don't know a lot about him when you're these undrafted free agents that are signed like he was in rookie camp. There's a reason why they stick around, why they bring them back, right? When you're invited to that rookie camp. He obviously did something well there, and he's kind of carried that momentum into training camp where the big boys are here now to play.
Yeah.
And look, the Pac-12 doesn't get a ton of notoriety, so you're not going to hear a lot of these names coming out of the Pac-12. You did about Kyle Phillips because he was obviously a draft pick last year. But this guy, what's interesting about him, he went to Oregon State. He's from Seattle, Washington, but actually played 2 years at Florida State. So he played down in the ACC before transferring up to Oregon State, where, let me just remind y'all, like Oregon State might not have a home like my school in Washington State in a year or so, but that program is on the map with Jonathan Smith, former quarterback of Oregon State, now at the helm.
Yeah.
And they're predicted to have a really good year. And that was really happening last year, too, if you watched that team play, where he was a part of this offense. Over 600 yards last year, a little less than a handful of touchdowns, but really was a guy that stood out there for them. And then clearly something that they saw in him with the Titans. He's a hard worker. He's going out there and he's giving it his all on every play.
Yeah.
And you're right. He's definitely sticking out and making a name for himself a little bit.
That's awesome.
Chris Moore, another guy that Mike Vrabel has been complimentary of, and another guy who adds a similar skill set to Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yep.
Really. You got two guys there that do similar things. So that wide receiver position is as set at this point of camp as it has been maybe ever under Mike Vrabel. When it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore, and Nick Westbrook-Akine. If there is a sixth spot, you would imagine Racey McMath and Trayshawn Harrison are maybe the two leaders in the clubhouse for that last position.
Yeah, and the one thing that I will say about Racey McMath, I mean, you can't count him out at this point, but I will say he's kind of getting lost in the shuffle for the fact that these other guys are kind of standing out. And when he had his opportunities last year in games, you got to remember he had some dropped
balls. Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
And he's done it a couple times in training camp too. And those are just the things you can't have happen when you're scratching and clawing for a position on the roster, especially with the competition that's in there.
Facts.
So that's the interesting part now of the Titans discussion, is the wide receiver position that's more settled than usual. The quarterback position certainly not settled between Malik Willis and Will Levis. What did you see from those guys on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it was one of those days where it was more so the fault of maybe some of the receivers who had the dropsies than it was the actual quarterback not being able to,
Deliver
right, and do what they were needing to do. But I will say that Levis looked better in terms of what he did the two previous days. I think it's just going to be a continued getting used to everything, getting used to this offense, all the new stuff that you're doing, preparing as a quarterback in the league compared to what you were doing in college, and learning from your mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're going to make these mistakes early on in camp, clean them up.
Please.
Like that.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do to clean them up. Malik, though, I think has impressed me just with what he's done in the offseason to prepare himself for what he was going to be needing to do this season. Coming in, knowing that I can't just run it first thing. That's not the first thing that pops into his head. Now you're seeing a little bit of, breaking down the offense a little bit more, seeing what he has. It looks like it slowed down a little bit for him. And he seems more confident out there. He really does. I think he just feels more comfortable, as he should in year two.
He know what to expect now going into it.
Yeah.
And that's what you kind of want to hear and know. My second year was way better than my first as far as just understanding. Play may not have been there, but I walked out to practice and those walkthroughs. That's because that's where you're picking up most of your information. Just, oh, yeah, I know this and I know this. And, just worrying about the physical side, like being more technical with little small things is the stuff you work on in year two. But the baseline, he's got that. And I'm glad to kind of hear that transition over into his play and personality now even more so.
Over under for scuffles today. First day of pads.
I think there's going to at least be 2.
I was going with 2.
Usually 2 small ones, it feels like, on the first day. You add a different team in there, then you can maybe get like a benches clearing, like
Right.
everybody's out there situation. But it feels like within the team, you just have the little like pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
I want to see if pushed, will Peter Skoronski push back at Jeff if they go? Not
Well,
that
it
I'm
is his
looking
birthday,
for.
so maybe Skoronski
Peters.
will be feeling some type of
Ooh,
way.
What a day to start pads on your birthday.
Happy
That's a
birthday,
gift.
Peter.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Against Jeff.
That
There you
is.
go.
Stephen A.
Yeah, that was Jeff to him. I always look at the O-line, D-line. There's so much to prove from these guys. Jamarco, Chris Hubbard, just Dillard on the other side. I mean, Jalen Duncan. Like, there's a lot of guys that will be tested today. And there is no substitute for being physical when you're big. And sometimes you do have to go slap the biggest dude on the yard just to get your respect some, or at least to let them know, I'm not backing down. We all saw the comedic exchange between the Browns players. If y'all hadn't seen it, linebacker did something bad.
Slapped him and ran away.
Yeah.
Slapped him and then ran away. I, in my older years, probably would have laughed it off. That guy on the Browns offensive line is not in a position. He was out of line for chasing them down, and he was even more so out of line for punching them too. But what was said is, I know when I go to that offensive line meeting room, my coach going to say something. Don't ever let a man slap you like that. They can't say it publicly. But he was supposed to chase that linebacker down at the Cleveland Browns practice and do what he did to him. That's what has to happen on days like this. Don't break your fists. Don't pull helmets and get disrespectful. But to step to the line and say, hey, you going to respect me
Yeah.
is what has to happen on days moving forward now.
Well, I know you guys are going to talk about this a little more, but right tackle, again, going to have my eyes on that because really this has been an evolving situation with who's taking reps with ones. Like, Jamarco Jones was back on Saturday, but, you throw Chris Hubbard in there a little bit. Jalen was taking, reps with ones on Friday. So that's going to be interesting once they get into pads because still there is no clear winner, even somebody who's out in front a little in that spot right now.
It was around this time last year when Nicholas Petit-Frere started to come on and take the right tackle job away from Dylan Radins.
Yeah.
Because Dylan Radins came in as the unquestioned offseason award winner, came in with that position locked up, and NPF took it away.
He did.
And that started leading up to that first preseason game. And that was then the storyline of the first preseason game. I remember a season ago. That's, again, going to be a lot of the topic of conversation now. When the pads go on, who can bring that extra level of physicality and maybe take a job away from someone else? That's why Mike Vrabel, I know, would love to have someone step up.
It would.
Yeah.
Going into preseason game 1. 615-737-1045. Kayla, we will get a full practice report from you tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to
me
it, guys.
too.
And we'll see you at lunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Coming up, more conversation on the Titans O-line, more of your Titans questions at 615-737-1045. We'll get to Jason leading us off on the phones when we come back here in hour number 4 of RKW. Continuing your Monday morning with more Titans training camp discussion on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Kayla Anderson en route to St. Thomas Sports Park. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh with you in studio. You can take your Titans questions and declarations for training camp at 615-737-1045. Who are you most worried about at this point of Titans camp? We've done the biggest standouts, the biggest positives. I'll give you my worry, Ramon, coming up in a minute. But first, let's go to the phones where Jason is in Murfreesboro leading us off here in hour number 4. What's up, Jason?
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good to have you back, Kayla and Ramon.
Thank you.
I wanted to say, my question was, how is our local Tennessean guy, Colton Dow, doing? And if we had a 5-receiver set, which 5 receivers would that be? That was my question.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate the call.
How's Colton? Colton had a welcome to the NFL moment, from my understanding.
He did.
Yeah.
Malik Willis uncorked about a 40-yard pass to Colton Dowell. It landed in his hands, and then safety Mike Brown knocked the ball out. And Monty Rice ran alongside Colton for about 10 yards and said, "You're not in college anymore," which is about right from Monty's perspective. I think Colton Dowell at this point is right in the middle of that bubble.
Yeah.
Battling with Racey McMath and Trayshawn Harrison for that last spot in the wide receiving room. I would be surprised if the Titans kept 7 wide receivers.
Yeah.
It feels like 6 is probably the right number considering the other needs they have. And that could be one position if they do decide to keep 3 quarterbacks that suffers.
Yeah.
Is the extra wide receiver. I know you were able to see him on the field as well. What was your first impression of Dowell?
Dowell, long, has speed, has range, and the young man has talent also. It's a matter of opportunity and him seizing those opportunities. Imagine what Gen Y's right up and hype would be around Colton Dowell had he actually caught that ball and not got scraped at the end. So it's those little learning tricks of the trade that he has to understand. Guys are trying to earn jobs. Like, it matters. All things matter right now. You're not on scholarship anymore. Has an opportunity is kind of what I see from him, Will. And the next question Jason presented, so I think that's a real good question.
In a 5-wide set, who's on the field?
He said 5 wide receiver, and you know this to be true. It don't have to be all 5 wide receivers.
Yeah, Chickaconquo is one of them.
Yes, he is.
I would say it would be DeAndre Hopkins and Traylon Burks.
That's 3.
On the outside.
I got NWI in there.
NWI,
or
Kyle Phillips, and Chickaconquo.
Nope. I'm going to even go a step further.
Tajay Spears?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Because,
that's fair.
And this is why, and I've kind of been preaching this for a while. I've been trying to stand on my soapbox about this. To have the flexibility of a guy like Tajay Spears means, look, he can be lined up in the slot out wide, motion him into the backfield.
And that's something we've seen a lot from Tim Kelly in Houston.
Yeah.
Is the ability to motion the back and create misdirection and confuse the defense a little bit. And that's a perfect segue into our offensive line conversation about this team right now. The defensive front 7 is manhandling the offensive line. Fair?
Out of pads, yes.
Out of pads. In shorts, the defensive line has certainly gotten the best of the Titans' offensive line. And this team needs a little bit of deception and misdirection to give that offensive line just a half a step up on their opponents. And I think that's where Tim Kelly's job is important. Because Todd Downing was not good enough at scheming pressure away from his quarterback. It was so predictable that the offensive line, even if they were good, which they weren't last season, didn't stand a chance. Defense knew when the Titans were throwing, when they were running, when it was play action. The Titans, by throwing more on first down and on second and long, at least give that offensive line a little bit more misdirection to help them just by placing a little bit of confusion in the minds of the defense.
And the cool part about Tim Kelly coming here also and having a style of offense that they run is this. One is run-oriented. And the fact that you have Derrick Henry in the backfield also means a lot. And the fact that your backup guy right now, Tajay Spears, or Hassan Haskins, probably Tajay, because it seems like he's adding more to his toolbox, which means more for the offense to use, is if you have a solid run game and you establish that in whatever capacity you need, well, there's ways to manipulate the pass protection. You move the pocket a little bit more. Tannehill moving out and outside the pocket, them setting up play action a little bit more, because if you can have the linebackers bite on the run action that the Titans are so used to doing, guess what happens? The passing offense opens up a little bit more too. Having the ability also to have slide protections as a part of it. We, as an offensive line, when I played, we would really judge like offensive lines that did full slide protections, or, hey, there's 3-on-2 more times than it's not. Like, give me 1-on-1. And then we actually had to have a conversation with ourselves, like, screw that. Add a slide protection in. Audible to a full slide right with the tight end cleaning up on the backside and the quarterback knowing where his hot is. It's those types of things that you can do to manipulate how the offensive line protects. You can hide those deficiencies, but you can't just get outright beat. And that's what I'm hoping this OL doesn't do. You can't just get manhandled.
Right. There were so many plays last year where there was zero chance for the quarterback to do anything because of how bad Dennis Daly was. The bar for Andre Dillard is low, but so far he's barely clearing it against Arden Key.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Dillard's had a little bit of a tough start to camp from all reports and from all accounts. But how much of that is just Arden Key being that good is my question. Because Arden Key without pads on is a quick guy.
Yeah.
Harold Landry's pretty quick.
Explosive.
Rashad Weaver is an explosive guy rushing off the other end.
Yep.
A lot of times against the right tackle. How concerned are you about the Titans' offensive line and their performance in camps so far?
I can be a little concerned if it continues on. And this is what I say about what I saw from Dillard, too. There's a couple times I saw Arden and him in the team set, and it was almost as if Andre Dillard wasn't using his hands strategically, meaning he was working on his lower half, his footwork, his body. Like I said, the one time I saw him get even with him and blow past him, he didn't even really shoot his hands until late. And I'm thinking to myself, in those settings right there where it's no pass and I know you can't sack the quarterback, I'm going to pick one or two things that I'm going to work on. For me, I always tried to see if I can, like, jump a guy real quick. Well, I know if I can jump him without pads on and win, then I'm going to try it with pads on too. What I'm hoping for him is, he said, let me work on my footwork and getting vertical. That's what I saw. That's what I saw, and I'm hoping that's exactly what it was, because if he's getting beat the same way in pads moving forward, that's when I start to get concerned. And we'll know that in the next few days, Will.
And how much of training camp is experimenting? We had this conversation about Malik Willis last season and this year, that I would almost rather Malik Willis throw a pick versus not throw it at all.
Oh, man.
I would rather him try to fit it into a tight window and not escape the pocket, put his foot in the ground and let it fly versus just running. Same could be said, I would imagine, at the offensive line position. I would rather a guy try to learn, all right, let me try different things with my footwork.
Yeah.
Let me try different things that a new offensive line coach is teaching me with just my feet before I think about hand placement, before I try to leverage my body in different ways. When in reality, you're not wearing pads yet. And ultimately, the way that you're positioning your hands, and I would imagine moving your weight around, is going to be different when you put pads on, when you've got more weight on you, obviously. Is that a fair comparison to make, kind of like a quarterback learning which windows he can fit it in and when to just stand in the pocket?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But now, instead of him doing that in team periods, he has to do it in one-on-ones when they're off to the side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's where it's transition. That's why I said the first day that I saw him, it was more or less like, okay, well, maybe this is me probably giving a little bit too much grace to the O-line too. Okay, well, I can admit that. I said, well, maybe he's just working on something. Now he has to work on that in one-on-ones when it's O-line versus D-line. When it comes down to team settings, the 11 on 11, there's no room for that, because you're actually trying to win that as an offense. Win that as an offense. That's the issue that we're seeing right now. If the defensive line from left to right is just getting in the backfield and the offense can't operate, that's when you start to get cussed out in meetings.
And last season, the Titans' defensive line did not affect the quarterback enough. And they weren't healthy much.
No.
And they didn't have Danico Autry in his natural position where they want him next to Jeffrey Simmons.
Right.
But that being said, This is not a defensive line that was setting the world on fire in rushing the passer. Right. They were in run stopping. They're the number one run defense in the league. It's why I think we are all confident that the Titans have a top 10 front seven in the NFL this year, or at least right on the border of that. But at this point of the process, from the offense's perspective, are you more concerned about Andre Dillard or Daniel Brunskill in the interior? Because I think you could make the argument he gets a little more grace considering he's going up against Jeffrey Simmons.
He does, just a little bit. And I've seen guys get beat pretty good in practice with going against a good player. Like, nobody could touch Antonio.
Cam Hayward?
You know what I'm saying? Like, Cam. Nobody could touch Antonio when he's practicing. Like, I saw Cam just run through younger offensive linemen. Like, yeah, good luck, man. I appreciate you showing up for me today at practice, but this ain't for you.
Okay.
But so if Bronsko's smart, that's one thing I saw about it, and I'm going to bring it up because Buck brought it up too, and I heard others. He pretty much airlifted that man, Bronsko, the day I saw him, okay? And
Jeffrey
with that
Simmons
Simmons,
like forklifted Bronsko.
It just, he hit him with 1-2 stab down the middle of the chest. Now, I'll say this, Bronsko probably didn't know that Jeff goes that hard in practice, right? And that's the thing you have to establish. Like, Bronsko has to grab his helmet every day, strap his wrist rockets, tape his hands up closer together each day, pair them up, and prepare for battle. Because if that's going to be Jeff's tempo every single day, then you better match it or either get outmatched. That's simply how it goes. So to say that he can't bounce back or it's not going to make him better, I think that's kind of ludicrous. Everybody has that play where you just got, right? But I'll say this. If you listen to certain talking heads that you trust and believe around the league, right, Will, then you pick up certain things. Bryant McFadden brought up something to us when he was on with us in the last hour. He mentioned all the wide receiver and skill players that Jacksonville had. And if you're smart about it as a team or you have a defensive-minded guy like Bryant McFadden, what did the Titans do that we just spoke about that was a negative of theirs last year? They couldn't get to the quarterback.
Right.
So this pass rush that they have now that we've seen so far in camp is all targeted towards what Jacksonville is doing. That's fair to say, kind of. We can believe that.
It absolutely is. And I think that's why you add a Jacksonville player who legitimately contributed to you not making the playoffs last season. When Josh Dobbs fumbled, Jacksonville scored, and your season ended.
You know?
So for the Titans right now, it's interesting because you feel really good about some of the additions they've made. DeAndre Hopkins makes one highlight catch pretty much per practice on average right now. Christian Fulton, you feel like, is in a really good spot. A lot of the newcomers on that defense, you feel really confident about. Yeah. But those changes aren't happening in a vacuum. And you look at all the other quarterbacks in the AFC that you have to one-up in order to surprise some people and make the playoffs and then maybe make a run. Yeah. That happens by bringing those quarterbacks back down to earth and bringing them into the mud a little bit. Mm-hmm. Being hyenas.
Yeah.
Like what Mike Vrabel said in 2020 when the Titans made the AFC Championship game. Yeah, we're hyenas going after the lion.
You have to be.
When that was Tom Brady, and that's the phrase he used on his hype video on Twitter going into that camp, but going into that postseason.
Yeah, you have to be, man. And you also, there's an equal opposite, effect to that too. And that's hopefully your offensive line being forced to grow up a little bit more. And that's what we're hoping when we speak about Bronsko. We speak about the right tackle position, whoever's going to be there, whether it's Jamarco or Chris Hubbard.
Jamarco Jones, who was back at practice on Saturday.
Yes, Jamarco Jones or Chris Hubbard. And you have a guy like Andre Dillard on the other side with also Jalen Duncan behind, or whoever's going to play that spot. Like, right. There's real opportunity. I'll be the first one to say a $10 million contract for a left tackle is still a steal.
Still cheap.
You can still put a guy in front of him if he doesn't perform. And we've seen Vrabel do this because what happened last year, okay? Nobody expected NPF to become the starter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was for him to actually compete for it, not to actually win.
Right.
And he beat out a guy last year and really cemented himself as a starter until the offseason situation happened.
For the second straight year, it's crazy that the offensive lineman you trust the most is probably the rookie. Yeah. For the second straight year. Yeah. Last season, NPF, coming into this offseason, what were we saying all of the offseason? This team might only return one starter.
Yeah.
And that one starter is most likely to be Nicholas Petit-Frere. Well, then the Titans made the moves they did. Aaron Brewer moves inside. Okay, it's two guys.
Yeah.
But I almost trust NPF to take a step forward when he's available more than I trust Aaron Brewer.
Yeah.
It's at least equal between those two. It's crazy to me now that the offensive lineman I have the most trust in is the guy who's never played an NFL snap, in Peter Skronsky, because his floor is so high at the guard position from things you've said, from what draft analysts tell you, from Mike Vrabel's confidence in him. It almost is crazy to me that I'm trying to justify the left tackle maybe not being up to a very high level by saying, well, but at least he's playing next to Skronsky, right?
Right.
Skronsky can erase the mistakes. You should be saying the opposite.
You should.
You should typically go into a camp when you have a rookie left guard by saying, well, if he stumbles a little bit, at least you have a veteran at left tackle to cover up some of those mistakes. We're saying the opposite.
Well, you are.
That's not a good thing.
And you know what, Will, through all of this conversation we've had about what this group is going to be, the one is going to, suffer the consequences more than anybody will be Tannehill if they don't come together.
Exactly.
And that's where it's unfair to kind of judge Tannehill in that sense. When I'll say this too, Will, if you look at this and you say to yourself, well, if NPF wasn't suspended, well, guess what? If you don't like what you see from Dillard, move NPF over to left. He's played that position before too.
But you can't.
But you can't now.
Exactly.
Because
if Jalen Duncan were to really step up and be a legitimate tackle.
Oh, come on, Will.
How great would it be for the Titans to have Jalen Duncan and Nicholas Petit-Frere be your two tackles, NPF on the left, Jalen Duncan on the right? To me now, that's what they would do, right?
It would be.
If somebody takes over the right tackle position while NPF is out for 6 games, and when the Titans take the field again after the bye week, after they play Baltimore and London, you could have an NPF come back at left tackle, and you could work with him one-on-one over camp. Say, hey, let's practice you on both sides a little bit. How about Dylan Radins, too? I mean, that's another guy we're not talking about. If Dylan Radins can come back from injury and give you legitimate reps at right tackle, then you've got a number of options.
Depth.
The Titans at least have options this year that don't include Dennis Daly, and that gives me more hope than anything. And I hate to single one player out, but you know what? The guy makes millions of dollars. He can handle it. He doesn't know me from Adam. That guy was as bad as it could ever possibly be last season. And the positive is the Titans were still one fumble away from making the playoffs.
So think about what it would have been if it was really above board the entire year, too. And this is where I'll take another take on Jalen Duncan is this, too. I said again, listen to B-Mac talk about the Jags, right? Bryant McFadden talk about the Jags. You got to do something to beat them, so you go get rushers. And the Titans did that.
Right.
And I'm listening to Vrabel speak about Jalen Duncan. He gave us the answers to the test. He said, I'm going to be more personal about what Jalen and I talked about. That kid doesn't know how good he can be. Will.
So you've said for weeks talking about that guy.
That's what you just said. Now, like him and NPF on this OL together, you feel better moving forward. And then the value pick of Jalen Duncan. Like if he has somebody around him, and they are a very young group as it stands right now, with Aaron Brewer being the most senior guy, right? That you can say here. If he has an older guy around him and say, young fella, just go fight first. After you learn how to fight and hold your own, then we're going to do the playbook. Like, that's what he needs to hear, because if Vrabel is saying you don't know how good you are, which means, bro, I want to give you this opportunity, but I need to see that you're going to be a pro about this. That gives me hope for a team that doesn't know what their OL is going to be if he was in that fold. Vrabel gave us all the answers we needed to know about Jalen Duncan. He wants him to play.
So it's a negative in the fact that your offensive line is struggling so far, but a positive still in the fact that Dennis Daly isn't a part of it. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding.
You are.
Dennis Daly isn't a part of it, and Aaron Brewer is playing his natural position now.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel, by the way, on Bussin' with the Boys with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, very complimentary of Aaron and the way he played in Green Bay. When the Titans didn't have Ben Jones, Taylor essentially asked him, if you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend it if you're a Titans fan.
Yeah.
I finally got to catch up on it over the weekend. Taylor basically said, Aaron is not nearly as vocal of a leader as Ben Jones was, and the center's got to be the one to communicate the most in the huddle. And Vrabel said, to his credit, when we went to Green Bay, I saw Aaron step up and be a lot more vocal and clearly communicate in that huddle every single rep.
Love it.
That's a very big positive.
Playing his role until it was his time.
I think Aaron Brewer is going to be the pleasant surprise of this offensive line this season. I'm going to go ahead and make that statement now. He's a guy that I believe in at center.
By force or by choice is what you're saying.
And both. We are forced to believe in somebody, and that person to me is Brew. Coming up next, more stats from the weekend. It is our kicker minute before we kick it to Buck Rising after the show is done. You like that? That was pretty good. You like that?
You like that?
Kicker stats. Stop the presses. Coming up next on RKW. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors here on 104.5 The Zone. And due to recent events, we are no longer John Morant on our Grizzly here on this radio show. Sorry, Ramon. Thank you, Robert Walsh. Look,
no
I had
excuse
to.
on mine.
What do you say?
I said that's not on me right there.
No, well, I had to make up for the fact earlier that I had no idea who a song was by or what it was. And somebody said, wait, you probably think that's J. Cole. I had to prove that I know J. Cole's catalog.
This is J.
The
Cole.
whole catalog. Deep tracks. Skate to one song and one song only. Yes, I know that's not J. Cole.
He's
But
about due for a new album soon, huh?
actually, he probably is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's about due.
Yeah, he was what? It was May 21.
Yep.
He's due.
Ha!
Come
We're
on
out of
now.
the off season now. Yep, we're out of the off season now. It's time for the regular
Yeah, it
season.
ain't the off season anymore.
Bert texted me earlier this morning. So we're going to text from Bert at 4:53 this morning. Well, Travis Scott dropped an album too.
He did. He mentioned Derrick Henry in it.
Very diverse album too.
I know ball.
You know ball, 100%.
I try to sound as white as possible. So
But he is trying for that Grammy, boy, with the production he got on there.
let's get some stats for you from Titans training camp over the weekend.
Do it.
On Saturday, Ryan Tannehill, 6 of 12 in 7-7 or 7-on-7 and team periods, but that included, as Kayla said, some shaky wide receiver play over the weekend.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks made a nice catch in one-on-ones on a deep ball downfield from Tannehill. Tannehill without an interception so far. Yeah, that's Ramon knocking on wood. Malik Willis, 4 for 9 with the first and only interception of training camp so far. Did you see who had the only interception of camp so far?
God, I saw the clip. Will, give me.
It wasn't. I don't think there was a clip of it because it was
There
team
wasn't?
period.
Oh, I thought I saw something. I thought I saw on video.
Rashad Weaver.
I read it.
Rashad Weaver is the only player with an interception at Titans camp so far. Will Levis was 6 of 8 over the weekend. Solid. Jim Wyatt writing, I've noticed more positive plays from him the last few days and have him at 17 of 23 in 7-on-7 and team periods. Solid start for Will.
Real good start.
Kickers, though, before we kick it over to the Buck Rising show, kicker Trey Wolf was 5 of 6 on Saturday. Makes from 30, 33, 42, 49, and 53. Had a miss from 49. Trey Wolf is 19 of 20 in camp. That's what you want.
It is what you want.
Caleb Shudak, meanwhile, was 5 of 6. His miss was from 38 yards. He is now 11 of 12 in camp. I'm going to be honest. I am equally worried about kicker as I am left tackle. Having two undrafted young guys battling it out, I would like to add another veteran in there.
Me too, but where are they going to come from?
Anywhere.
I know. I'm with you on the kicker situation, though, too. Directionally, kickoffs, what does that mean?
Yep.
But also extra point and field goal.
There are so many kickers that are weapons now from like 55 plus.
They are.
There are a lot of Greg Zuerleins out there.
There's a lot of guys that, like,
just from a power perspective.
I remember, I think it was Coach Mack or it was Rhett One saying, like, you look at this situation now, like 40 isn't the 40 anymore. Kicking from 50 plus is the new 40. And a lot of teams have those type of legs on their team now.
Especially with the way this Titans offense stalled at the edge of the red zone a lot last season. Just the nature of the way this team is on third downs offensively. You got to have a good kicker on this team.
You do.
And you have an opportunity with Ryan Stonehouse to where if you get a guy that can come in and be this team's kicker for 5-6 years, get a younger guy that can grow within the job and within the franchise, you could have the best kicker-punter duo in the league.
You could.
Because you already have the best punter in the league in Ryan Stonehouse.
You do. And his directional kicking is something that's got to be documented, too.
It's getting better.
It's getting better.
Yep.
But, golly, you're right about the extra point and field goal. Field goal specifically. Those threes matter. They do, especially when you got a tight one or you playing or you down a couple players when you not really working on offense the way you need to.
Yep.
I'm with you on that one. Kicker kind of bothers me. I'm not overly concerned, but I'm with you. I got a side eye on it.
Practice getting started today, just about 20 minutes ago. We can tell you because this was reported on social media, so we're going to basically reset things that have been publicly said on Twitter. Josh Wiley is on the field today, Titans rookie tight end. Really good sign. After he missed the first 3 days of practice, tight end out of Cincinnati who is in pads and ready to go. stretching with the Titans.
And I'll say this too. There's a lot of hoopla around guys missing practice and stuff like that in training camp. Hoopla. Hoopla.
I've never heard anyone call it hoopla.
Hoopla. A whole lot of fuss and chaos.
Hey, you going to the hoopla bar after the show today?
I'm going to go to a bar fight is what I'm hoping at this Titans practice.
A lot of hoopla around Will Levis and Malik Willis.
It is. It's just, but players missing practice is not to be a major concern now, especially this early in practice. In camp, I mean.
I don't know. I feel like for rookies, though, it's kind of a different process. 3 practices isn't a big deal. I will give you that.
Yeah,
but
it's not a big deal.
I need rookies to be practicing.
Yeah, I do too. But you know what? Now you are the industry of yourself.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Can't go out there if you're injured, though.
I need that industry to be a Fortune 500 company, not a startup.
Look at you. Look at you. Will's like, give me ball, all ball. You signed up for ball, you're going to play ball.
That's
all
right.
Jim Irsay.
I know ball.
Irsay said the same thing.
Don't ever compare me to Jim Irsay ever again. Special thanks to Bryant McFadden for joining us this morning. Kayla Anderson will have a full practice report for us tomorrow, the next time we speak to you. Back at it again, 6 a.m. Another week begins, man. We're rolling. Football's back. If you're driving around this morning, roll down the windows a little bit. Blast the AC as low as it'll go. Convince yourself it's a cool breeze and that it's fall.
And smell the
It's
football.
not fall, but convince yourself that it is, because Ramon Foster is going to tell you other words of wisdom you need in your life right now, too.
What you'll be smelling is football in the air, right? Well, But you got to remember this, though. Your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.